later, it was Darryl Sittler again off a feed from line mate Ilka Sinisalo. The Flyers soar after 2 periods, 5-2. With the game out of the Whalers' reach, Darryl Sittler once more connects on his 20th career hat trick. The Flyers win their 8th straight. The Whalers come up empty for the 10th straight time. This is the Spectrum on the south side of Philadelphia, where tonight the Patrick Division leading Flyers battle the struggling Hartford Whalers. It's next, coast to coast on USA. Tonight's game is brought to you by Toyota, who reminds you it's a good feeling to buckle up for safety. By Lowenbrow, when you want the taste of a truly great beer, there's really only one. Tonight, let it be Lowenbrow. By Mobil 1, the oil that saves you gas and more. And by Levi's Jeans, cords and shirts for quality and style you can count on. And good evening, everybody. We welcome you to the Spectrum in Philadelphia and a special edition of the National Hockey League on USA. I'm Al Troutwig, and tonight we're going to see one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League, the Philadelphia Flyers, who have won 8 straight, 7 of those coming on the road. Now, the Hartford Whalers have been on the other side of the coin. In the last 10 games, they've managed but 1 point. Coach Larry Kish is trying to maintain his optimism, but things are tough right now in that Connecticut city. Let's go now to Gary Green and Dan Kelly for their thoughts on tonight's game. Gentlemen?
Al, you mentioned the Philadelphia coach, or the Hartford coach, Larry Kish. Bob McCammon, the Philadelphia coach, says it's the leadership of veteran players like Bobby Clark and Darryl Sittler. Good veteran leadership that's the key to his team. Agree, Gary Green?
Well, no question about it, Dan. When you look at the fact that Bobby Clark is 33 years of age and Darryl Sittler is 32 years of age, they're number 1 and 2 in your scoring statistics for your team. It's a tremendous amount of leadership that they're giving to the rest of their hockey club.
And the Flyers have been without a guy like Barber. Flockhart's out now with an injury. Their number 1 goaltender, Lindbergh. But they just keep rolling along.
Well, they've got some good depth in their hockey club, and I think, you know, once they get Barber back and Sinisalo now playing on the line last night there with Sittler, that was a tremendous line.
And the other side of the coin, Larry Kish. No wins in the last 10 games. As a coach, you can't get down on the situation, though. You have to be the up guy.
Well, you know, I've been in that situation before, Dan. You get these dents in your head from banging your head against the wall because, boy, I'll tell you, it's a tough situation when you don't have a lot of depth in your hockey club. And then, as is happening right now, he's running into some injuries. You just got to keep plugging away. That's all you can do.
Hartford has never won in this building. They'll try and do it tonight against, as Al Troutwig said, a red-hot Philadelphia Flyers team.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Tonight, indeed, the Philadelphia Flyers, who have outscored their opposition 41-18 over the last 8 games. Offensively, they're awesome. The Hartford Whalers are having problems. Perhaps they can work out a few kinks tonight. An East Coast Showdown next.
We are back live at the Spectrum in Philadelphia as the Flyers, the league leaders in the Patrick Division, host the Hartford Whalers. Coming into this game this evening, Philadelphia in first place, a record of 25 wins, 12 losses, 5 ties, 55 points, a 6-point spread on second place Washington and the New York Islanders. In the National Hockey League tonight, other games, Los Angeles at Buffalo, New Jersey at the Rangers, Minnesota play Chicago, Pittsburgh at Winnipeg, and Detroit at Edmonton, and we'll be keeping an eye on those other games for you as the evening goes along. And now, our national anthem.
Oh, play can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight flash gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous night all the ramparts we won were so gallant
The officials for this National Hockey League game is assigned by the NHL. The referee will be Ron Fournier, the man with the red armbands on. Ron Finn, one linesman. Leon Stickle just coming into your picture, the other. The starting goaltenders for the Hartford Whalers, Mike Visor. There you see his record. 5 wins, 7 losses, 1 tie. A 4.74 goals against average. And at the other end, making his first start for Philadelphia since late November, Rick St. Croix. 8 wins, 5 losses, 2 ties, a 3.41 goals against average. And we're ready for this game at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, and immediately a lead pass to Sittler from Cochran, and it's just called back on a 2-line offside. Wow, a close call, as Sittler would have had a breakaway. Last night in the National Hockey League, plenty of action around the circuit. Philadelphia, as you saw, beat Hartford in Hartford. The Auditors won over Quebec. Calgary beat Detroit. Boston eked out a win in Montreal. Washington and St. Louis a tie. And so on down the list. From the face-off, the puck is cleared in by Hartford. And going back is number 2, Mark Howe. He cleared it on the boards, and the Flyers work it to Bill Barber. Barber moves in, his shot blocked. Now Sittler getting it to Barber. Into the corner to Sittler. Sittler taken out of the play by Kotsopoulos, and we'll get an early penalty here against the Hartford Whalers. And it will be the former New York Ranger, Chris Kotsopoulos, who'll go to the penalty box. He hooked down Darryl Sittler in behind the net.
Well, that's going to put Hartford in a very difficult situation early in his hockey game, because this line of Sittler, Sinisalo, and Barber, as we mentioned earlier, have really been dynamite, especially in last night's game. Not a very good start for the Hartford Whalers when you got to kill off a penalty early.
Philadelphia, 31 power play goals this year, a 22% with the man advantage. Hartford, meanwhile, killing off penalties at a 77.1 percentage. So Philadelphia with an early power play, and the Whalers immediately get it. Shoot it around on the boards, held in by Dvorak, the point man for Philadelphia. And now on the second try, the Whalers clear it. And Howe, number 2, is back to get it. Howe and Dvorak are the point men, with Clark, Holmgren up front. The other man is Sittler. He works it into the corner to Clark. Clark back to Howe. Ron Francis ties him up. He works it to center ice to Warren Miller, number 27. Miller for Hartford as a penalty killer. Moving in, his shot blocked, and Clark, number 16, lost it. Stolen by Miller, and Miller drops it all the way back to his own line, and the Whalers take over there. Fired into the center ice area by Pierre Lacroix. Now Mark Howe to Clark, ahead to Sittler. Sittler, number 27, tried to work it through. Broken up, and the Whalers have control. Hospodar fires it all the way down the ice. Just about a minute left in the penalty to Kotsopoulos.
Well, Hartford looking very cool and calm thus far, killing his penalty, doing an excellent job.
Here is Sittler getting it in on the wing as the Flyers attack. Pop a shot right on, and the goaltender Visor made the save and took no chance. He dove out and smothered the rebound.
Well, Visor was somewhat screened on that shot as well, but he kept his eye very closely on that puck, and that's a key play for a goaltender. Again, going back to Hartford's penalty killing thus far, Larry Kish said going into tonight's game he wanted them to play very aggressively in their own end zone, but to back off in Philadelphia's zone.
Greg Millen may play the brunt of the games. We look at Bill Barber, who welcomed himself back into the Flyer lineup with a couple of goals last night. He was out with a knee injury. From the face-off, Renault for Hartford to Ron Francis. He couldn't get it out, and here is Barber dropping it back to the point. Held in by McCrimmon. In behind the net to Prop. Into the corner to Allison. Back to McCrimmon. Now over to the other point. And Philadelphia working into the corner to Barber. Barber. Now into the other corner. The Flyers still controlling. Prop, number 26. Renault is working on him, trying to get the puck free. Now McCrimmon at the point. Band on it. Held it in. Here's Allison to Prop, a drive. Visor slid across. Now back to the point to Hoffmeyer. In on the wing to Allison. He moves in. He hit the goal post with that drive. And now Hartford try and clear it. Held in by the Flyers. The shot wide of the net. And it bounces all the way down into the Philadelphia zone. A little bit of goal postitis for Philadelphia.
Well, one good save there by Visor, but then the goal post helping him out.
Now Holmgren attacks for Philadelphia. Number 17, Lacroix skates him off. Allison trying to center for Hoffmeyer. That's broken up, and back comes Sullivan for the Whalers, number 22. Doug Sullivan flipping it in. St. Croix leaves it for Hoffmeyer to Holmgren. Holmgren now working it ahead, and the Flyers attack. Moving in across the line with a drop pass was Mark Taylor. Came in front of the net. McCrimmon couldn't get a stick on it. Now moving in, Dvorak from the point, and that shot goes up over the glass and into the crowd. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching the NHL on the USA Cable Network.
We will be back tomorrow night with another NHL contest as Quebec meets New Jersey. The Devils will need strong goaltending to stave off Quebec's high-scoring Stastny clan, and perhaps Chico Resch will be the goaltending that the Devils will need. Don't miss Monday Night NHL Hockey tomorrow night live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time right here on the official network of the NHL USA.
Philadelphia nothing, Hartford nothing. A couple of shots on goal for Philadelphia on that power play, and one big save by Weiser, and then one shot that ricocheted off the goalpost. Hartford now back at full strength. Clark gets the draw to Ben Wilson, over to Dvorak at the other point. He centered it, and Kotsopoulos now works it out on the left wing side, and the Whalers shoot it to center ice. Here's a chance for Miller. He couldn't get his stick on the pass, and Dvorak now feeds it on right wing. Hustling back was Mark Renaud to beat Allison to the puck. He cleared it. Now Renaud gets it back again. Renaud being checked, passes it on the boards, and Hartford now move out of there. Greg Adams to Miller with a long shot off St. Croix's stick and over the glass into the crowd, with Pelle Lindbergh doing most of the goaltending recently. St. Croix, who hinted he'd like to play elsewhere if he's not going to play, gets his first start in goal since late November.
Well, you never know with these situations. Marcel Pelletier said earlier, just before this game started, that maybe a little bit too much negative press as far as St. Croix goes. Maybe he didn't say all the things he did, but it appeared that he did want out. Now he's right back in those nets. They need him now.
And they're not sure just how long Lindbergh will be sidelined because of that wrist injury suffered in the game against the Soviet Union. Here's Ben Wilson, number 3 for Philadelphia. He tried to headman it to Clark. It goes back to Russ Anderson, number 7, in the Hartford zone. His pass over to his defense mate Lacroix, headmanning it to Ron Francis. Francis, by the way, was a doubtful starter for Hartford tonight. He shot it in, and Dvorak works it to Clark. Stolen. There's a shot by Stelton. Went wide of the net, and the Flyers quickly clear it to center ice. Clark playing it off the boards into the Hartford zone. Pierre Lacroix, the former Quebec Nordique, back to touch it, and an icing call against Philadelphia.
Well, we take a look at Bob Cammon, very successful coach this year with the Philadelphia Flyers. You know, he said earlier, second time around a little bit easier. He's got this team well under control.
Yeah, McCammon was the Flyer coach, was let go, asked for another chance, went to their farm club at Maine. The one thing he said when I talked to him tonight, Gary, is how he is different. He said he's a lot tougher this time around. He doesn't take any guff or have as much patience as he did the first time around.
Well, I think that'll happen to all of us second time around.
Once burnt, a little wiser, huh?
No doubt about it.
Here is a lead pass to Barber. It comes to center. Kotsopoulos now shooting it in, and the Flyers fire it right back out, and number 7, Bill Barber, tries to work it in, broken up at the Hartford blue line, and now circling for the Whalers is Bob Sullivan, number 26. He dropped it to Kotsopoulos, fired to center. Sittler knocks it down, and now Pierre LaRouche, number 28 for Hartford, circles in his own zone. LaRouche for the Whalers, passing it out on the wing. Hartford almost lose it. Now Sittler does get it. Cleared it in across the line, but Mark Renaud, number 25, fires to center, and it's taken by Ray Neufeld, number 17. He drops it back as the Whalers Renaud now to center. Here's Neufeld trying to work around Mark Howe, and Howe, who's added an awful lot to this Flyer club since coming here at the start of this year from Hartford, worked it over to Cochran, now to Barber, ahead to Howe, around Renaud, center to Sittler, oh, and Weiser robbed Darryl Sittler after a tremendous play by Mark Howe. And then the puck is cleared down the ice. Number 29 is Cochran. He works it out on the wing. A big save there by Weiser. Here's a long shot. Weiser handles that, sets it up for Lacroix. He worked it over on the wing, and number 20, Merlin Malinowski, dropped it back to the goal. Now Renaud Cleared it on left wing to Greg Adams. He let it go to center. And it is taken by Brad McCrimmon, the former Boston Bruin. Ahead on left wing for Mark Taylor, number 15. He centered it to Prop. Prop in front of the net, but Hospodar broke it up for Hartford. Hospodar dropping it into his own zone to Lacroix. Ahead on right wing to Miller. Intercepting it is McCrimmon. He shot it to center. The Flyers' Paul Holmgren now fires it in. Weiser plays the puck back of the net, and Hospodar moves it quickly to Miller. He shot it to center. Philadelphia's Bobby Hoffmeyer intercepting. To number 26, Prop. He shot it in, and Lacroix starts back for Hartford. Lacroix to center ice. Moving across the line, trying to get it to Blaine Stelton. Stelton then is checked, and it's shot by the Flyers down into the Hartford zone. Kotsopoulos back to get it. Now working it over on the wing to Stelton. Stelton dropping it back behind the goal to Russ Anderson. He cleared it on the boards. Now Philadelphia in behind the net trying to work it free was Lindsey Carson. Here's Allison now. Into the corner to Carson, and Francis knocks that down. Headmans it to number 21, Stelton. Stelton got to the line, broken up, and here's number 18, Lindsey Carson. Long shot. Weiser steered it to the corner. Carson after it again. Centers one. It came to center ice. And number 9, Dvorak gives it to Ben Wilson. He shot it into the Hartford zone. Francis dropped it back. And Russ Anderson cleared it. Bobby Clark tried to intercept. He couldn't get to it. Chris Kotsopoulos now firing it. It goes off Ben Wilson's stick. So there'll be no icing on the play.
Well, you know, Lindsey Carson playing very well there along with centerman Bobby Clark and Ray Allison. Here's a guy the Flyers didn't give up on, Dan.
Now the Flyers move in. It's cleared right back out by Hartford. Cochran at his own line. Passing it over to Howe. Now Howe shooting it off the boards into the center ice area to Prop. Here comes Howe into the Hartford zone. Shoots one. Weiser just got a piece of that quick wrist shot. Now centered by Prop, but intercepting it was Neufeld. He fires it down the ice. They're going to rule that Gorens could have played the puck, so there was going to be no icing on the play. No score as Sullivan intercepts shooting, and St. Croix just got a stick on that. Now Hartford. Bob Sullivan fired it to the corner. The Flyers got it, and back they come, led by Prop. Prop trying to clear it. Knocked down by Renault, number 25. Renault into the center ice area to Neufeld. He just drops it back to number 28, Pierre LaRouche. Here's LaRouche to Renault. Now working it on the wing to Sullivan. Renault gets it again to Lacroix. He shoots it into the Philadelphia zone, and Mark Howe for the Flyers. The lead pass to Sittler. That was off the mark. Goes down the ice. Icing called against Philadelphia. With the score, Philadelphia nothing, Hartford nothing. We'll return to the Spectrum in Philadelphia right after this.
Toyota presents a truck that gives you the feeling.
The feeling that you're driving a sports machine.
A 1983 Toyota Sport Truck with a 5-speed manual overdrive or an optional 4-speed automatic overdrive with a suspension system that lets you love the road and the ride. It's like a sports car with a 7-foot trunk. Now, how did that feel?
Like somebody did it right.
The Flyers nothing, Hartford nothing. Both teams a little different looking in this game, Gary Green.
Well, they both got those long-legged pants on known as the Cooperalls. First time you'll see that this year. Anyway, two teams playing against each other.
Philadelphia started that trend, and here we have a game with both clubs wearing those Cooperalls. Here's a shot by Kotsopoulos. Loose at the side of the net. Hartford trying to work it in front. Back to Kotsopoulos. A drive. St. Croix the save. And now Hoffmeyer for Philadelphia. Tried to headman it to Sittler. Russ Anderson knocking it down. Here's Hartford dumping it in. But back to cover up is McCrimmon. Now to number 27, Sittler. Sittler, Barber, and Sinisalo. They got 7 goals in a game yesterday against Hartford. That's a Philadelphia club record. Now Anderson shot it to center. Ilka Sinisalo drops it into his own zone. And McCrimmon cleared it on left wing for Bill Barber, number 7. Here's Barber. Dropping it back for the defenseman Hoffmeyer. Hoffmeyer hit Fournier, the referee. Now Barber picks it up. Barber to Sinisalo, a shot! And The goaltender, Visor, just got a piece of it. He came out and cut down the angle and got a piece of the shot. And now circling back is Malinowski for Hartford. To Kotsopoulos. He shot up the center. Sinosalo intercepting. Over to McCrimmon. Brad McCrimmon ahead on right wing for Brian Propp, and that play is offside at the Hartford Whalers blue line. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching NHL hockey on the USA Cable Network.
Tomorrow, USA's College Basketball 83 continues with a live Pac-10 battle. UCLA, paced by Rocket Rod Foster and Kenny Fields, take on the upset-minded Sun Devils from Arizona State. Don't miss UCLA and Arizona State tomorrow. That's live at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Pacific, right here on the network where top colleges come to play, the USA Cable Network.
Ten minutes and 4 seconds left in the first period. No score in this game. Hartford at Philadelphia as the Whalers' Ron Francis had it at center. He was checked, and now Brian Propp attacking for the Flyers. Flips it in behind the net. Mark Renault back to get it. Lost it as Holmgren was in to forecheck. Now Propp in the corner for Philadelphia. Brian Propp, number 26. Centers it out to Mark Taylor. A shot. He scores! Philadelphia's Mark Taylor. He's the son of the legendary hockey star Cyclone Taylor, former player at the University of North Dakota, and he really whipped in a wrist shot there.
Well, that he did. Only his second goal of the season, but boy, he got some excellent wrist action on that shot. It fooled Mike Visor. I think Mike was going down as the puck was going up, but an excellent shot by Taylor. Taylor, a graduate of the University of North Dakota, really put some mustard behind that shot.
And as I mentioned, the grandson of the legendary Cyclone Taylor, the man they said once scored a goal skating backwards. Here's Taylor again. Shot and Visor the save. Holmgren missed the rebound. And back comes Doug Sullivan. Long shot. St. Croix handling that. Flyers quickly clear it to center, and Kotsopoulos works it over on left wing for number 22, Doug Sullivan. Sullivan passing it, now flipping it in himself. St. Croix sets it up for Ben Wilson, number 3. Wilson played it off the boards ahead to the guy that got the goal, Taylor. Taylor tried to clear it in. Kotsopoulos knocked it down and shoots it back into the Flyer zone, and Dvorak, number 9, works it to Ben Wilson, number 3. Wilson to Clark. Here is Clark, number 16, dropping it back to Allison. A shot. Visor, a stick save. Loose puck, and Anderson then pulled down the Flyer player. And Russ Anderson will get a penalty here. We're live at the Spectrum in Philadelphia with the Flyers leading 1-0. More in just a moment.
In 1958, Levi's original blue jeans were banned from many high schools across the country, and Levi's cords became a jean to beat the dress code. Since then, most schools have found little correlation between one's jeans and one's higher education, and students have written Levi's cords into a dress code of their own, with lots more colors and a look that walks the perfect line between jeans and slacks. Levi's cords, jeans for the new dress code.
Well, Russ Anderson we see sitting in the penalty box. There's no wonder why after we see him pull the legs right out from under the Philadelphia Flyer, number 18, Lindsey Carson.
So a penalty to Anderson. The scoring play, by the way, for Philadelphia. Taylor got the goal from Propp and Holmgren. 10:20 the time. Here's a shot by Howe. Visor stopped that and held onto it. Mike Visor, formerly with the Chicago Blackhawks. I was talking to Larry Kish a couple of weeks ago, and he said, well, Greg Millen plays most of the games. This guy is the hardest working guy in his team in practice, Mike Visor.
Great person to have as a backup goaltender. Stands up there well. Great character this guy's got.
Here's Dvorak over to Allison. Allison on left wing. On this Flyer power play, dropped it back. Dvorak couldn't knock it down, and the Flyers have to go back.
But when the Flyers do get organized in Hartford's end zone, watch for them to be trying to set up Howe. He's the guy with the big shot.
Let's watch it. Howe dumps it in. Allison, number 19, digging in after it to Clark behind the net. Bobby Clark trying to make a play, still has control of the puck. Now tied up by Renault, fired along the boards. Howe moves in from the point. Here is Mark Howe. Got it in front, couldn't get his shot away. Renault went to clear it. Dvorak held it into Allison. Back to Dvorak. Center to Clark. Backhander, that's off the goal post. And into the corner. 2 goal posts the Flyers have hit here in the first period. And now Hartford clear it to center. Here is Mark Howe, number 2. Moving it in on right wing for Clark. He lets it go to Carson, now to Bobby Clark. Clark, the great Flyers captain. On this Philadelphia power play. Into Carson. He couldn't get a shot. Now Clark gets it back to Carson. Back to Clark. To Howe at the point. Howe shoots one, and he blasted it wide. Puck into the corner. Whalers trying to clear it, and they do after some tough sledding on the boards by Chris Kotsopoulos. Here comes Howe. Shoots one high off the glass. Now Clark moving in. Clark, number 16, back to Howe. Howe over to Dvorak at the other point. Now to Ilka Sinisello. He had a shot block. Gets it again to Howe. That shot in front of Barber. Backhander. Oh, and off the stick of Visor and then just wide. Now center. Barber had a chance at it. Couldn't control it. Hartford. Neufeld couldn't get it out. Dvorak holding it in. Now Anderson out of the penalty box. They're back at full strength. Sinisello to Clark. Clark got it in front, and coming out to smother it was Mike Visor. And he held on to it.
Well, what pressure these Flyers put on Hartford in their own end zone on that power play. Mike Visor coming up with a real key stick save when he was down. Barber all alone in front. And, you know, that was the key right there to all that pressure. Hartford's defense consistently left poor Mike Visor alone in front of that net.
And to credit you, Gary Green, you could really see the Flyers trying to work the puck to Mark Howe. A couple of times they did, but even a couple of times when they didn't, you could see that that was uppermost in their mind.
Well, has that guy got a bullet or what? Boy, he can really let that puck fire.
Here is a shot by McCrimmon from the faceoff, and Visor makes a pad save and held it for another faceoff.
Well, you know, interesting the fact that on that particular power play, we were talking about key guys putting that pressure on. Darryl Sittler, one of those key guys that is so capable of doing that. But again, the Hartford defense got to cover up in front of that net. Got to help your goaltender out a little bit more than you did. You can't leave guys like Clark wide open in front of that net and Barber. They're the two dangerous guys.
The Flyers have outshot Hartford 10-6 to this point in the game. They lead 1-0 on a goal by Mark Taylor. Now Bill Barber gets the puck. Here is a shot by Sittler. That's wide of the net. Barber moving over on the boards. Loose puck to Sinisello now. Actually, it's Sittler dropping it to Sinisello. To McCrimmon, to Sinisello in the slot. He's tied up, and Hospodar has it, drops it back to the goal, and we're going to have another penalty here. Darrow, or at least Ilka Sinisello, was high-sticked in the play. Referee Fournier goes over to check on that. We're going to have a penalty for high-sticking against Hospodar as you look at Ilka Sinisello.
Well, I don't think there was any doubt about the fact that Eddie Hospodar's stick was too high up. We see it very closely there on the replay, right up in the face of Sinisello. We know that one hurt.
For our local affiliates, we pause right now. You're watching NHL Hockey on the USA Cable Network.
At the conclusion of period one, we will be down in our USA Network studio to talk to Mark Johnson. And indeed, injuries are a fact of life in the National Hockey League. Mark Johnson will attest to that. We'll talk to him about his jammed left wrist and a lot more when he joins me at the end of period one. After that, a special look at the hard-working men who wear the black and white on the ice each and every night in the National Hockey League, the officials. So it's Mark Johnson and a special look at the NHL officials at the end of period one. Stay tuned.
On that last play, Hospodar got a high sticking penalty. So Philadelphia on their third power play of this period. They're leading the game 1-0. Here's Barber in the slot to the side of the net to Sittler. Visor stopped his shot. Now Barber getting it back to Sinisello again. To Sittler, to Ilka Sinisello. And the Whalers break it up, and it's cleared into the center ice area on a good defensive play by Merlin Malinowski. Here's Brad McCrimmon, number 10. Shot it in. McCrimmon picks it up himself. Into the corner, but Kotsopoulos is there to fire it down the ice.
Well, the Flyers having a little bit of difficulty getting organized right now, but as you notice, Hartford will not force deep in their own end zone. That should help them immensely.
Here's Hoffmeyer. He comes all the way to center, passing it over on the wing off a stick of Ron Francis and over the glass and into the crowd. We mentioned at the outset Hartford being hit with some injuries. Risto Siltanen is out with a groin injury. Mike Falcon, another defenseman, is out of the lineup for another 10 days with a wrist injury. Mark Johnson is out with a jammed left wrist. Rookie Mike McDougall out with a shoulder injury. So that Hartford team, with only 1 point in their last 10 games, they're not as deep as a lot of teams, and that really hurts when you get the injuries.
Well, Siltanen being out really hurts him because he's good in both end zones.
Here's Howe for Philadelphia. Mark Howe on this Flyer power play. They drop it to Dvorak at the point. Dvorak, number 9, over to Allison, back to Dvorak. Now on left wing to Prop. He works it in front, and Howe shot it wide. Now Allison cleared it behind the net, and intercepting it was Lacroix. Ouch, he hit the linesman Leon Stickle right in the back with that clearing pass. Here's Clark for Philadelphia. Bobby Clark, number 16. You could call him the franchise in this city, and when you talk about the Flyers, that's the kind of production he's had. Now here's Howe for Philadelphia. Shoots from the point, that's deflected wide. Allison in behind the net. Dropping it back to the point to Howe, in behind to Clark. Number 16, Bobby Clark, centered. Dvorak had moved in, but it was tipped away by Hartford. And then sliding out without a stick was Neufeld, and he hit the puck with his hand all the way down the ice.
Well, Neufeld did his job there. He wanted to get off the ice, but he got that puck deep in the Flyers' end zone before he did it.
There's Brad McCrimmon in across the line to Evans, now to Paul Holmgren. Holmgren ridden out of the play by Anderson. Loose puck centered out in front. The shot was blocked by the defense. Now Evans' a shot, and that's handled by Visor, and he held onto it. And we'll have another face-off in the Hartford zone. The National Hockey League is coming to you coast to coast on the USA Cable Network. With Gary Green and Al Troutwig, this is Dan Kelly. 3:58 left in the first period. 1-0 for the Flyers. They haven't been able to take really much advantage on their power plays, Gary Green.
Well, no, they haven't, but yet still some excellent pressure they have applied. Visor's played well.
Here's Visor setting it up for Kotsopoulos, number 24. Kotsopoulos with a long lead pass. Goes all the way down the ice. It was intended for Greg Adams, who used to be with Philadelphia. Now Hoffmeyer winding it around to McCrimmon. Ahead on the wing to Evans. At center for Taylor, number 15. Taylor flipping it in. Russ Anderson went to clear it. Now taken by number 18, Greg Adams. He shoots it over onto the other wing. And speeding out of there is number 27, Warren Miller. Miller poke check by McCrimmon. And now Taylor has it for Philadelphia. And back of the play, a little altercation. Holmgren and Miller almost get into it, and we're going to get a penalty here against Paul Holmgren for cross-checking.
Well, Holmgren will be sitting in the box. That won't be any new place for him. Certainly the aggressive winger on this Flyers team. That's the man, number 17, Paul Holmgren.
Time, 16 minutes, 44 seconds.
Cross-checking is the penalty. 16:44 the time, and Hartford, trailing 1-0, will have a chance to work on their first power play of the game.
Well, Holmgren, that's his 92nd penalty minute thus far this year, as indicated. The enforcer for this Philadelphia team.
Meanwhile, Philadelphia, not the Broad Street Bullies by any means anymore. They've cleaned up their act an awful lot and don't get the number of penalty minutes that they have in previous years. Ready on a face-off as LaRouche gets it for Hartford. 1-0, Philadelphia leading. Hartford on the power play for the first time in this game as they work at the center ice. Here's Lacroix. Shot it in. Puck back to the net. Hoffmeyer coming up with it. He cleared it out on right wing. And Taylor just flips it down the ice for Philadelphia. Hartford on the power play this year. 25 goals and 18.8% with the man advantage. Whalers. Number 5, Taylor dropping it back for LaRouche. LaRouche, number 28. Flipped it in. Taylor is there for Philadelphia, and he shot it back to center. Hartford try and move it in again, and now circling back is Doug Sullivan, number 22. Over on the wing to Francis. He cleared it in on Hoffmeyer. For Philadelphia, picks an opening and clears it the length of the ice.
Well, Hartford have not been all that successful thus far this year. 25 goals scored in 133 chances for an 18.8%. Got to get up to that 25% mark to have a good power play in this league.
Here's LaRouche to Sullivan. Number 22, Doug Sullivan. Passed it over. Now Frank Bathe on the ice almost had it for Philadelphia. Here's Sullivan. Clark does get it for the Flyers. Clark shot it, but Kotsopoulos had anticipated his move and broke it up. Now Bathe to Clark, who's got a breakaway. Bobby Clark in the clear. Oh, and Visor a save. Now Bathe a shot, and Visor sprawled across and made another dandy stop. And then held on to it. Mike Visor stopping Bobby Clark and Frank Bathe from point-blank range.
Well, Howe and Clark combined doing an excellent job killing penalties, but Clark had just a superb chance here, in all alone. But let's watch right after this. Frank Bathe gets also an opportunity. I don't know where the Hartford defense went on this particular occasion, but certainly Kotsopoulos here was kind of standing around doing a lot of looking, but not an awful lot of action. Mike Visor, once again, having to do it all himself.
Remember, the Flyers are shorthanded when Clark and Bathe had those chances. Still 27 seconds left in Holmgren's penalty. I talked about Philadelphia and their drop in penalty minutes. They're 13th in the league, and of course they were perennially up at the top in penalty minutes. Here's a shot from the point. Visor handles that from Dvorak and then held onto it.
Well, you know, interesting fact, Dan, just the exact same thing you brought up. They've really cut down a lot of needless penalties.
This telecast is presented by authority of the National Hockey League and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of these games without the express consent of the National Hockey League is strictly prohibited. Here's Hartford winning a face-off. The Whalers still on the power play and trailing in this game 1-0. Mark Renault shot it to center, but Howe has it for Philadelphia. Cleared to center. Clark knocks it back to Dvorak. Back to Clark. Clark flips it high into the Hartford zone. Malinowski back to get it. Lost it to Howe. Here's Mark Howe to Clark. Clark with a backhander that went wide. They use Howe, the Flyers do, up front as a penalty killer. Now the Whalers trying to move it out of there. Philadelphia is back at full strength, and the puck is held there. Quite a penalty-killing stint by number 16, Bobby Clark.
Well, at 33 years of age, where he comes up with all of his energy is yet to be found. But boy, I tell you, this guy is just a fearless leader. Consistently, he has been the franchise, as you indicated, Dan.
Incidentally, on that Hartford power play, the Whalers didn't get a shot on goal. Philadelphia had 3, and 2 of them were point-blank drives. Here's Hoffmeyer as we're in the last minute of the first period, 1-0, Philadelphia leading. And now as the puck is cleared over the glass, we'll have a stoppage in play and another face-off in the Hartford zone.
Well, Eddie Hospodor already sitting in the penalty box once tonight, as we do remember, coming from the New York Rangers. A very tough, aggressive defenseman. Needs to improve on his mobility, but really wants to play in this league bad.
Sittler wins the face-off. Here's McCrimmon at the point. His shot blocked. Ron Francis shooting it around to Adams, number 18. Greg Adams for Hartford. In behind the net to Anderson. Anderson to Miller. He dropped it back into the corner. Now Barber steals it for the Flyers. Here's Bill Barber flying to center. Adams intercepts, and Hartford come to center, but Sinisalo checked him. Here's a pass to Sittler. Sittler to Barber. Barber on left wing and across the line to Darryl Sittler. Sittler fired it around on the boards. Sinisalo and Adams fight for it. Adams knocks Sinisalo down. And the Hartford team captain, Russ Anderson, to center ice to Miller, number 27. He dropped it to Hospodar, checked by Barber. Bill Barber moves in, shoots one. Visor the save, and then Sittler shot the rebound wide. Sinisalo dropped it back. Miller intercepts that and cleared it as the buzzer goes to end the first period here at the Spectrum. Philadelphia dominating the period of activity. They outshot the Hartford Whalers 17-7. But could only get 1 goal in that period. That was a goal by Mark Taylor. Coming up in our intermission, you'll meet injured Hartford Whaler forward Mark Johnson, a member of that 1980 United States Olympic gold medal winning team. The score after one period, Philadelphia 1 and the Hartford Whalers nothing. Hartford Whalers 1-0 as Mark Howe headmans the puck to Bobby Clark, now on left wing to Lindsey Carson. Carson, number 18, getting it in front of the goal. Visor grabbed it as Glenn Cochran deflected that shot, and Mike Visor held onto it for a faceoff. Visor has looked very sharp in the Hartford goal crease. First period action, the only goal, Mark Taylor, his second goal of the year. He had gone 29 games without a goal before scoring tonight at 10:20 of the first period, and the shots on goal favored the Flyers 17-7, so Visor has been sharp.
Well, Visor has played extremely well in that first period. He needs some help from his defense, as we indicated many times in that first period. Let's see whether he gets any this second period.
Pierre LaRouche, number 28, ready on a face-off against the Flyers' Paul Holmgren. LaRouche gets the draw. Hartford trying to move it out along the boards. Now Taylor, who scored the goal earlier, knocked it down. A pile-up in the corner. That's Holmgren and Lacroix battling for it. Lacroix comes up with it. Now Holmgren gets it again. Holmgren into the slot, back to the point. McCrimmon shoots one. Right on, and a save by Visor. McCrimmon shooting, and he blasted it wide. Here's Taylor into the corner. Loose puck along the boards. Flyers prop couldn't clear it in front. Now here's Holmgren in front to prop. Backhander off the goalpost. Big pile up. Visor was able to grab it and hold on.
Well, lots of action down in again. Hartford's end zone. Prop and Holmgren putting lots of pressure on Mike Visor. Take a look at that pass made right out to the front of the net by Holmgren. It hit the post, and Holmgren's taken another whack at it. Lots of action. Lacroix trying to put Holmgren down. He did a good job of it, but sometimes a little bit too late. We see just to the right of our screen, Holmgren consistently in there digging away. He smelled that loose puck, and he was going at it.
One of the Philadelphia Eagle coaches told a compatriot of mine that Paul Holmgren is as finely conditioned an athlete as he's ever seen. That's quite a compliment from somebody in another sport.
It certainly is. He's a very strong player. Used to work out at the University of Minnesota there with the football team. Was just as strong as anyone there, we're told.
Merlin Malinowski on this face-off against Darryl Sittler. Sittler gets the draw. Dvorak at the point had his shot blocked. And now starting back is Galarno for Hartford with a long drive. That's handled by St. Croix. Into the corner. Ben Wilson tried to clear it. Kotsopoulos held it in. Malinowski tried to tip it, and now Philadelphia clear it to center. Hartford shooting it in as Greg Adams cleared it in. Wilson back to the net. Shot it off the boards. It goes all the way down into the Hartford zone. And as Anderson goes back to play the puck, we get an icing call against Philadelphia. This is the National Hockey League on the USA Cable Network. We'll return right after this. 17 minutes, 45 seconds left in the second period. Philadelphia leading 1-0 on a first period goal by Mark Taylor. Here's Chris Kotsopoulos getting it in front to Michel Galarno. He poked it wide, and then Ben Wilson cleared it, and it's over the glass into the crowd.
Well, we're speaking about the depth of the Flyers organization. Out of their lineup tonight, Ron Flockhart. We take a look at one very healthy Ben Wilson, who is in their lineup. But Ron Flockhart out with a bruised kneecap and tendon. He's expected to be out for 10 days to 3 weeks. Brad Marsh out with a sprained knee. Tim Kerr out of the lineup. He's recovering from knee surgery. And, of course, as we'd mentioned earlier, Pelle Lindbergh out with that possible fractured wrist.
That guy we were looking at, Ben Wilson, was out earlier himself with a groin problem. Here is Wilson behind the Philadelphia goal on left wing to Barber. Lead pass to Holmgren, knocked down by Lacroix. And the Whalers attack as Francis drops it to Renault. He's checked, and here's Sinisalo breaking away 2-on-1 with Sittler. Sinisalo fired high off the glass. Now Barber shoots one. Ron Francis blocked that. And the Whalers, in their green uniforms, come to center. Doug Sullivan with a lead pass to Blaine Stelton. Ben Wilson wins the race to the puck, and when he touches it, Hartford is called on an icing call.
Well, as we take a look at Blaine Stelton, certainly one of the more talented players for this Hartford Whaler Hockey Club. Formerly a Pittsburgh Penguins first-round draft choice way back in 1973.
He's a guy that's been a 50-goal scorer in both the NHL and the WHA. This year, Stoughton with 22 goals to this point. That's what he's known as a goal scorer.
Well, he's got a tremendous shot. He got a real eye for that net, and as you had indicated, he's scored a lot of goals over the course of the past 3 years, especially.
Here's Lacroix, number 5 for Hartford. Ahead to Ron Francis. He cleared it in. Mark Howe tried to clear it. Sullivan took a poke at it, and then it's grabbed by St. Croix, the goaltender.
We have an update in the NHL. In the first period, the Buffalo Sabres lead the Los Angeles Kings by a score of 2-0.
Here in Philadelphia, the Flyers leading Hartford 1-0. Ready on the face-off in the Philadelphia zone. Howe firing it around on the boards. Now Brian Propp getting it into the center ice area, but knocked down by Lacroix. Ahead to Francis. Intercepting that at the Hartford line was Cochran. Now Brian Propp circles back to Glenn Cochran, number 29. Back to Propp. Propp flipping it into the Whalers zone. Sullivan, number 22, has it for Hartford. Doug Sullivan. Lead pass off the Flyers' Cochran stick, and the whole play is offside at the Philadelphia blue line.
Dan, another score at Madison Square Garden between the Devils and the Rangers. That Hudson River rivalry tied 1-1 in the first period.
Dr. Ranger General Manager Craig Patrick this morning, he said, we expect a tough game. New Jersey plays their best against the Rangers.
Well, we'll see them tomorrow night on our game here on the USA Network, but certainly New Jersey, a very hard-working hockey club.
New Jersey and the Quebec Nordiques tomorrow night here on the USA Network. Here's a pass broken up by Sullivan. His pass to LaRouche. Pierre LaRouche moving in. Now over on the wing and a drive right on target. And a save by St. Croix as the shooter on the right side, Ray Neufeld, really let a blast go. By the way, St. Croix, here in Philadelphia, they sometimes pronounce his name St. Croix. The correct French pronunciation is St. Croix. So we'll switch back and forth to help the bilingual situation.
Well, je ne
I have already.
Français, but I'm going to go with St. Croix.
Oui, Monsieur Green. What an act, what an act. Here's LaRouche against Clark. 16:09 left here in the second period. McCrimmon for Philadelphia. Clears it to center. Russ Anderson, number 7, back for Hartford. Fired it off the boards to center ice. Hoffmeyer battling on the boards with LaRouche. Now Clark back to help out. Cleared it into the center ice area, and here is Allison, number 19. Over to Lindsey Carson. Drop pass to McCrimmon with a drive wide. Here's Clark in the corner. Clark to Allison. Skated off by Kotsopoulos. Now Carson attempting to center. Clark comes in to help out. Bobby Clark got it in front of shot. They score! Allison on a typical Bobby Clark play. Ray Allison set up just beautifully by number 16, Bobby Clark.
Well, you could hardly fault Mike Visor in this particular situation. As you indicated, a typical Bobby Clark doing lots of work behind that net and really laid a beautiful pass right across to Allison, who couldn't help but put that puck in the net. I mean, he had plenty of time there. Visor tried to get across as quickly as possible, but it was just too beautiful a pass laid across there by Clark. Allison wasting no time firing that thing in right out behind Mike Visor.
So it's 2-0 now for Philadelphia. Here is Merlin Malinowski shooting it in for Hartford. Back to get it is Ben Wilson. He cleared it on the boards. Malinowski hustles back again for the Hartford Whalers. To number 18, Greg Adams. His pass at center intercepted by Propp for Philadelphia. He dropped it back, and Dvorak, number 9, has it behind the Philadelphia goal. Miroslav Dvorak, another of the natives of Czechoslovakia in the NHL, got it to center. Now here on the attack is Propp, number 26. Propp moving in. Brian Propp tried to make a play, centered it. Visor cleared it away. Holmgren ridden out of the play by Hospodar. They jam up in the corner. Still fighting for the puck on the boards, and Malinowski has it, and now Hospodar and Holmgren almost got into it. They skate their separate ways, and Hartford now shoots the puck into the Philadelphia zone. Drop back to get it for the Flyers. Working it on left wing to Dvorak. He flips it into the Hartford zone. Visor sets it up for Lacroix. Number 5, Pierre Lacroix. To Ron Francis. Francis poke check. Now Doug Sullivan gets it. Shoots. He scores! Doug Sullivan with a quick wrist shot. Beats St. Croix on the short side.
Well, good shot there by Sullivan. But the real key there was the excellent move by Ron Francis. You know, Ron Francis is also hurting tonight and wasn't expected really to play in tonight's game. But the pass he made over to Sullivan, Sullivan had lots of time to take a look, and take a look is exactly what he did. He saw that St. Croix was giving up just a little bit of room there on that stick side. He found the short side, and he put it down with a good, hard, low shot.
So that cuts the Philadelphia lead to 2-1. Going back to get it in the Flyer zone is Howe. Kotsopoulos held it in. His shot off Howe's skate, loose behind the net. Hartford's Francis able to center. No, Sullivan was open, but banned on the shot, and it comes back into the Hartford zone. Kotsopoulos, number 24, played it to Sullivan, who scored the goal. He lost it to Bill Barber. Barber cutting in. Visor the save. Rebound. Visor stopped that and stopped Barber a third time, and then held on to it. With the score, Philadelphia 2, Hartford 1. We'll return to the Spectrum right after this. Well, if you don't think that Mike Visor is playing well in the Hartford goal, check with Bill Barber.
Well, 3 shots for a quarter there, Billy Barber. You owe us, because right now he really put some pressure on. He didn't quit, and 3 shots is exactly what he did get on Visor.
Here's a shot by Howe. Barber again, and Visor makes a stick save to again stop Barber from close in. Philadelphia leading the game 2-1 as Barber gives it to Sittler, and Sittler drops it back to Glenn Cochran. Flyers drop back into their own zone. Howe got it to center. Here is Sullivan to LaRouche. His shot blocked. Now at the point, Mark Renault. Shooting one, sliding out to block it with Sinisalo, and now Cochran blocked the shot. Here's Sinisalo to Sittler, headmanning it to Barber, number 7. Barber trying to make a play. Gets it to Howe at the point. Into Barber. Barber in front. Sittler, a backhander, and Visor the save, and then Hartford under pressure, clear at the length of the ice. Mark Howe back, touches the puck, and icing called against the Hartford Whalers.
Well, again, Philadelphia putting on some real pressure. This guy here has just been playing great hockey for this team. I noticed his father said the other day after watching the Russian game, he really feels that perhaps his boy will once again be an all-star this year, and that I wouldn't doubt the least bit, because he has played well. 12 goals and 22 assists thus far for this Philadelphia club. Been a big factor in the Flyers being right where they are right now, first place in the Patrick Division.
Bill Barber back in the Flyer lineup, as you see on the bench, and he looks like he's picking up right where he left off. He's always been a fine two-way left winger. Here are the Whalers trying to clear one. It comes into the Philadelphia zone. Bob Hoffmeyer back to touch it, and again icing against Hartford. Gary, you were talking about Mark Howe. As we look now at Bob Hoffmeyer, originally with Chicago, now with the Flyers. Is there anybody in the NHL who can accelerate from a standing start any better than Mark Howe?
Boy, I'll tell you, he has got excellent speed. You know, I think perhaps the only 2 guys that come to mind is Mike Gartner from the Washington Capitals and perhaps Savard from Chicago. All 3 with great acceleration.
And Howe can be standing still, and in 2 strides, he's flying.
You got to stick close to him or you've lost him.
Here's Anderson, cleared it back of the net. Kotsopoulos now worked it over on the boards to Malinowski. Goranson to forecheck. Flyers now send 2 men in, and the puck winds up underneath the Hartford player Kotsopoulos, along with Brian Propp. No, it actually was the other Philadelphia player down on the ice, Paul Evans.
Well, Kotsopoulos, we see down on one knee, the former New York Ranger hockey player. He's a very big, aggressive hockey player, but he needs some work on his mobility, and I think that's the real key right now with the Hartford defense, is that they have got to become more mobile. They're a little bit sluggish back there, but have got lots of size.
shots on goal in the game right now as Philadelphia's Gorin shoots wide. Favor Philadelphia 25-11, so they've dominated, but lead just 2-1. Jam up back of the net. Adams for Philadelphia, or used to be with Philadelphia, cleared it for Hartford. Now Warren Miller, number 27, runs into the referee, Fournier. Miller persistently stays after the puck. Now they send the referee, Fournier, right up on the edge of the boards. He climbed up there to get out of the road, but the play is stopped anyway. Fournier did a heck of a job of getting out of the road, didn't he?
I think he needed a rest more than anyone else here.
See if you'd like to be a referee. Watch this.
Well, Fournier jumping up there to get out of the way. The old cat and mouse game, I tell you. He should have just gone about 3 rows up there and watched the action from that vantage point.
A jumping jack. He did a good job of staying out of the road.
Must have been those flexibility exercises they did before the game tonight.
Ron Francis on a face-off against Clark. Into the corner is Allison. Allison centering one over onto the other wing to Carson, but Hospodar intercepts. Now Carson in front. Oh, and Allison was wide open but fanned on it. And Stelton cleared it to center for Hartford. Here is Clark for Philadelphia. Over to Carson. Shooting, and he blasted that wide and high as well. Now at the point, Wilson's shot blocked loose in front. Carson had a whack at it. And now as the Whalers, Francis clears it. Puck going down the ice. We're going to have a delayed penalty called here. And it's going to be against Philadelphia and against Bobby Clark, I believe. So Clark will go to the penalty box. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching NHL hockey on the USA Cable Network.
The 1982-83 NHL season is composed of 840 regular season games. But of course, the NHL is a lot more than that. Join USA Network each week for the NHL Journal with host Al Albert with special features on the National Hockey League. That's tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time following Hockey from the Spectrum, NHL Journal on USA.
Tripping is the call against Bobby Clark at 8:59.
Well, a little behind the scenes work here, but Bobby Clark taking the legs right up front underneath the Lacroix. Bobby Clark wanted that puck because he was there all alone, and he wanted it bad.
So Hartford, trailing by only a goal, get a chance in the power play right here. But immediately the Flyers clear it to center ice. Pierre LaRouche, number 28 for Hartford. Couldn't get away from the forechecking of Taylor. Taylor gets it again. Here's Mark Taylor in behind the Hartford goal. Couldn't center it, and LaRouche, number 28, starts back for Hartford. LaRouche jumping it in. The Whalers chase in after it. Francis gets there. He's taken out of the play by McCrimmon. Now Sullivan into the other corner for Blaine Stelton. Stelton, number 21. Drops it to LaRouche at the point. LaRouche into the side of the net to Malinowski. Centered. Oh, and Sullivan shot it high. Here's Francis. Back to the point to LaRouche. Now to Ron Francis. Centered. They score! Great setup by Francis. And the Hartford Whalers come back to tie this game at 2-2.
Well, again, some great playmaking by this young Ron Francis. He can really handle that puck, but boy, when he laid that pass right across to Sullivan, there was no question whatsoever. Sullivan knew beforehand what he was going to do with that puck, and he really caught St. Croix right out of position. Great release, good quick action there by Sullivan, his 16th of the year.
Second of this game and 16th of the year, as Gary Green points out, and it ties the game at 2-2. A Hartford power play goal. Here come the Whalers again. Ray Neufeld winding it around on the boards, but Howe is back for Philadelphia. Howe clears it to Barber at center. Now Renault knocked it down at the Hartford blue line. Here is Sullivan now for Hartford. Over to Neufeld. Neufeld poking it into the corner. Comes to the point. Now the Whalers again hold it in. Philadelphia trying to clear it out, but here comes LaRouche. In on right wing to Neufeld. Breaking it up with Sippler. He shot it back to center. Renault giving it to Lacroix. Lacroix to LaRouche. Ahead on left wing to number 26, Bob Sullivan. He leaves it for Lacroix. Now Sittler intercepts. Here's Darryl Sittler in with Sinisalo. Sittler to Sinisalo, but Renault, the defenseman, broke up that 2-on-1 and cleared the center. Glenn Cochran shot it over onto the other wing. Sullivan intercepts. They have a Sullivan and a Sullivan on this Hartford club, so don't be confused. Sullivan is 22. Sullivan is 26. Here's Sittler. Across the line, drops it back for Howe. Unable to center it is, he was given a rough ride by Chris Kotsopoulos. Whalers, Malinowski giving it to Warren Miller, number 27. To Greg Adams. Prop knocks that down, and Kotsopoulos flipping it ahead. Malinowski can't get around Dvorak. And number 9, Miroslav Dvorak, cleared the puck to the corner. Hartford stay on it. Here's Malinowski in front. Miller had a poke at it. Now Adams a shot. And Dvorak stopped that. And back comes Philadelphia. Taylor across the line, giving a pass to Holmgren, who shot wide. Anderson went to clear it and cleared it over the glass. 8:17 left in the second period, a 2-2 game.
Well, interesting theory that a lot of coaches have had in the past. Coming into this building, if you can get out of the first period just being close on the scoreboard, then you've got a chance to win this hockey game. And really, Hartford was able to keep it close after that first period and have come back with 2 quick goals to be right back in this hockey game.
And we're trailing 2-0. Doug Sullivan got 2 goals. His 15th and 16th of the year, and that last goal on a power play. Sullivan's 5th power play goal of the season, which ties him for the Hartford team lead with Blaine Stoughton. Whalers starting to move out of there. It is Hospodar, number 23. Now Francis was in ahead of the play with the help of Taylor, and it's offside at the Flyer line. The USA Cable Network is bringing you the National Hockey League. More right after this. You see part of the crowd at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. This is a tough place on the visiting team from this crowd.
Oh, you're not kidding, boy. They can sometimes throw everything at you but the kitchen sink.
Here's a puck shot in. Hospodar now to Stoughton on right wing. Cleared to center. Taylor knocks it down for Philadelphia. And here is Ben Wilson for the Flyers. Into Prop on left wing. Prop cutting in. Shoots. Weiser just got his glove up in time to deflect it away. And here comes Sullivan. Over on right wing to Stoughton. Blaine Stoughton for Hartford. Into Doug Sullivan in the corner. Behind the net to Ron Francis out in front, and St. Croix had to make a stick save. Back comes Philadelphia. Brian Prop to Dvorak with a blast wide. Here's Holmgren. He centered one. Taylor had a whack at it. That's knocked down, and now Taylor will get a penalty as he upended Doug Sullivan. And Hartford, who tied this game up moments ago on a power play, will have the man advantage again. There you see the signal from Ron Fournier. That means tripping against Mark Taylor.
Number 15, Mark Taylor.
Well, Taylor taking the legs out, as you indicated, Dan, of Doug Sullivan right here, giving the Hartford Whalers a chance to really come alive in this hockey game. They've had the momentum. Now with this extra power play opportunity, if they can score one on here, it puts Philadelphia in somewhat some trouble.
Taylor, as Gary Green told you earlier, out of the University of North Dakota. He's a native of Vancouver, British Columbia. He's in the penalty box. And Hartford on the power play. Malinowski ready on this face-off against Bobby Clark, just outside the Hartford blue line. Philadelphia 2 and Hartford 2. Philadelphia outshooting Hartford 26-14 to this point. But the scoreboard's the big statistic, and it's 2-2. Here's LaRouche, a point man on this power play to Kotsopoulos. Now over on the right wing side to Neufeld, to Sullivan. Sullivan got it into the Flyer zone. Hoffmeyer couldn't knock it down, and now McCrimmon shoots it over on the boards. Kotsopoulos from the point, a drive, and St. Croix went down and made the save and held on to it.
Well, once again, we see the penalty-killing squad out there of Bobby Clark and Mark Howe. Howe had come to Bob McCammon about 15 games ago and asked him whether or not he might have a chance to kill penalties up front. McCammon obliged, knowing that he had done that with Hartford. And since that point in time, Clark and Howe have been their best 2 penalty killers by far.
Here is Clark on the face-off against Francis. On the drop of the puck, McCrimmon coming up with it for the Flyers, clearing it to Howe. Howe to Clark at center. Clark lost it, and back comes number 10, Ron Francis. Francis in across the line to Sullivan, back to LaRouche, and a shot right on. Rick St. Croix caught it, and he held on to it.
Well, on this power play, we see now Francis is lined back out there. They weren't out there at the start of the power play because they had just come off the ice before that penalty, and so they were still a little bit tired. But Ronnie Francis, watch for him to set up Stoughton as much as possible. Stoughton and Sullivan right now on their opposite wings in order to release that puck a little bit quicker. We saw that paid off on Sullivan's last goal.
Francis, a former #1 draft choice of the Whalers in his second year, won the faceoff, but then Clark held it in. Now LaRouche at the point. Over onto the wing, back to Kotsopoulos, shoots right on. Glove save again by Rick St. Croix. And we'll have another face-off in the Philadelphia zone.
Well, you know, if Hartford can get this power play going, and they've played very well in the last 2 games especially. Pierre LaRouche having some excellent games, 6 goals in the last 3 games, 3 straight 2-goal games as we see.
Here's Francis against Clark. Clark this time wins the face-off, and Brad McCrimmon, number 10, fires it off the boards back into the Hartford zone. Here's LaRouche winding it around on the boards to Kotsopoulos. Number 24, Kotsopoulos, working it to number 10, Ron Francis, to Kotsopoulos. At center to LaRouche. LaRouche to Francis. His shot blocked. And Hoffmeyer now backhands it and clears it to center, picked up by Howe with Clark. 2-on-1 break. Back to Howe. He scores! That's why Mark Howe and Bobby Clark are such great penalty killers. Not only their defensive ability, but when they got the offensive chance, look what they did.
Well, I think we're going to see right here that Pierre LaRouche was somewhat the goat on there. He tried to keep the puck in, but as a result caused a 2-on-1 situation. And as we'd indicated earlier, Howe and Clark working so well together. Visor going down, trying to make a poke check on this particular almost breakaway here because Howe is in all alone. But Visor not successful. Howe being able to walk right around and put it into the empty net.
Mark Howe's 13th goal of the season, his 4th short-handed goal. Well, that's the kind of penalty killer he's been. Gives the Flyers a 3-2 lead. Hartford still on the power play, but unable to hold it in. And Mark Renault has it at the Hartford blue line. Got it to center. Here's Dvorak. He's number 9 into the Hartford zone. He flipped the puck. Renault back to get it. Now Barber knocking it down. Bill Barber to Evans at the side of the net to Barber. He scores! Another short-handed goal for Philadelphia.
Well, this really stings, I'll tell you, if you're a Hartford Whaler fan, because here, as we had mentioned earlier, Hartford had the opportunity to kind of get something going, and as a result, it killed them. 2 short-handed goals, a pass by Evans right out to Barber, and Barber finding that corner. We see it here from another angle. Watch Barber. He's quick to release that puck as soon as he receives the pass. Hartford really behind the 8 ball now. Boy, I'll tell you, that really takes the momentum away from you badly. And boy, does it ever do something to your bench, because you kind of get the feeling, oh no, everything has kind of fallen out all of a sudden on this Hartford team.
2 short-handed goals, and Philadelphia have a 4-2 lead. Enough to make you decline the penalty if you're Hartford, right?
Give it up, forget it.
Now the penalized player is back on. Hartford with Adams in the Hartford zone, passing it out on left wing to Malinowski. He gives it to Russ Anderson, number 7. Anderson flipping it in to Dvorak, and Miller go in after it. Miller gets to it, out to Adams, off his skate and wide. Now Adams again. Fell down in the corner, and here's Frank Baves, number 5. Baves flips it into the Hartford zone, and Hospodar takes over to Malinowski. And a big collision in front of the net involving Hospodar. Here's Miller. His shot at a stick save by St. Croix. Holmgren flips it to center. Brian Propp leaving it for Baves. He shot it in, and Anderson is back to get it for Hartford. Quick outlet pass to Miller, number 27. Now over on the wing, intercepting it was Howe. He cleared it, but the Flyers were in the act of changing and didn't play the puck. Now Bill Barber drops it back to his own line, and Glenn Cochran flips it in, and here comes Sittler dashing in after it. Sittler centered. Visor cleared it away. Sittler again to Barber. Now to Sittler. Around on the boards to the point man, Cochran. In front to Barber. Francis knocked it down. Now the puck flips along the boards. Stoughton and Barber fighting for it. Philadelphia holding it in. Stoughton gets it to Sullivan. And Doug Sullivan flips it ahead. Racing after it is Stoughton. But Mark Howe was there to intercept. Now Glenn Cochran. Cochran drop pass to the winger to Sinicello to Barber. That shot blocked in front of the net by Kotsopoulos. Here's Francis with a lead pass to Stoughton. Howe going back for Philadelphia. He's checked. Now Francis flipping it in behind the net. Cleared by the Flyers. Held in by Lacroix. Shooting. They score! That shot deflected in front of the net. As Lacroix let it go, I'm not surprised if it was Sullivan who deflected it in. Well, he changed the flight of that puck.
I think you're right, Dan, because Lacroix blasted that puck, but let's take a look at it. If it wasn't Sullivan, then it was off of perhaps Mark Howe, but I think that you were right in the first place that it was
Stoughton
Sullivan.
was there as well. I'm not sure which one, if either touched it, but it did change direction.
Well, there's no question. It totally fooled St. Croix because it kind of went up at the last second, so I don't know who they're going to credit for the goal. Perhaps Lacroix will get it.
Well, Lacroix gets the goal, so they ruled it one off the Philadelphia player. Cuts the Flyer lead to 4-3 as Hartford fire it in. Brad McCrimmon back to get it. Cleared it over on the board. Lacroix flipped it into the corner, and here is Hoffmeyer. For Clark off his stick, and back to get it is Renault. Into the center ice area to Sullivan. Sullivan couldn't get anywhere, and here's Bobby Clark with a pass to Allison, number 19. Allison for the Flyers tried to spin around Renault. Now Lindsey Carson in the corner. Drops it to Hoffmeyer. He shoots from the point, and it deflects into the corner and over the glass, out of play. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching NHL Hockey on the USA Cable Network.
I had Mark Johnson in the studio earlier, and Mark Johnson said to me the one thing that's been troubling Hartford is a lack of discipline. Well, it certainly looked with those two shorthanded goals that the lack of discipline was troubling Hartford once again. We've had 6 goals now in the second period. At the end of the second period, I'll be speaking with Bobby Clark, the great veteran center of the Philadelphia Flyers. And after that, Gary Green and I will discuss what's been going on in periods 1 and 2. That's in the second intermission.
That last scoring play for Hartford, Lacroix gets the goal unassisted at 16:47. And it cuts the Philadelphia lead to 4-3. Puck is taken immediately by Anderson and cleared down the ice. Going back after it is Hoffmeyer. And again, we get an icing call against the Hartford Whalers. And again, we say we're live at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Philadelphia leading Hartford 4-3. 2 minutes, 20 seconds left here in the second period. 4-3 Philadelphia. Flyers as Bobby Clark is tossed out of the faceoff. Bobby Clark will be Al Krudwig's guest in our upcoming intermission. He's been one of the greats in the National Hockey League over the last dozen years or so. From the faceoff, the puck coming to center ice. McCrimmon giving it to Hoffmeyer. Hoffmeyer up the middle to Clark. Clark headmanning it to Carson. That's intercepted, and here's Kotsopoulos with a lead pass to Miller. It goes down the ice. Hoffmeyer back to get it, and as soon as he touched the puck, an icing call again against Hartford. By the way, the 2 shorthanded goals that Philadelphia got, the first time they have scored 2 shorthanded goals in a game since February 9th of 1973 when they did it in Vancouver. Bobby Clark and Rick McLeish did it on that occasion. Here in this period, it was Mark Howe and Bill Barber who scored the shorthanded goals, 2 in a row on the same penalty. Face-off will be to the right of the Hartford Whalers goal. Scoring in this game thus far, Philadelphia goals from Taylor, Allison, Howe, and Barber. Sullivan has a pair for Hartford. Lacroix has the other. 4-3, Flyers lead. Face-off, Beiser cleared a shot away. Now Holmgren in behind the net, centered out. They score! Brian Propp from a seemingly impossible angle. Puts it in on the short side off of the goaltender Beiser. Well, you're not supposed to be able to score from that particular spot on the ice. But Propp just did. See his shot? And it deflects off Beiser and got in. Let's see if we can see it even better from another angle. Puck cleared. Propp at the side of the net. Puts it in between the skate and the goalpost of Beiser. May have just gone off his leg or skate. And Philadelphia on the goal by Propp leads 5-3. Dvorak for the Flyers now. In the center ice area. Cleared it. Lacroix knocking it down. Here's Dvorak moving in a 3-on-1 break to Holmgren over to Propp, who shot it wide of the net as he couldn't control it. Ben Wilson shoots, and Beiser with a glove save, held onto it, and we'll have a face-off. Now Holmgren and Hospodar have some words. They had a little collision earlier in this period. And now at this tenure, just about get into it again. Scoring play, Propp from Taylor and Holmgren at 18:05. There is Ed Hospodar, the former Ranger. Face-off as Hospodar heads for the bench will be to the right of the Hartford goal. 1:30 left in the second period. 5-3, Philadelphia leading the Hartford Whalers. On the face-off, Barber shoots it in behind the net. Sittler for Philadelphia, trying to make a play. Kotsopoulos checked him, and now here's Bill Barber. Barber with a shot. That deflected off Sittler and just went wide. And here's Chris Kotsopoulos flipping it to center to LaRouche. Ahead for Sullivan off his skate. And Ilka Sinicello drops it into his own zone to Cochran, to Howe, to Sinicello. Back to Cochran. Over to Barber, but off his skate, and we're in the final minute of the second period. Chris Kotsopoulos flipping it into the Philadelphia zone. Shot back to center. Now Sullivan, number 26, waits for his team to get onside, then lost control of it, and here comes Philadelphia, led by Sittler, to Sinicello. He's checked in the play, and Kotsopoulos tries to set up LaRouche. Mark Howe beat him to the puck. Now the puck inside the Hartford line. Kotsopoulos shot at the center. Barber intercepting for the Flyers. Bill Barber dumping one in. Merlin Malinowski, number 20, has it for Hartford. Malinowski with 15 seconds left in the period around the defense. Malinowski behind the net, centered it. Here's a shot blocked at the defense as Renault let it go. And Sittler shot at the center. Kotsopoulos clears it to Miller. Sittler checks him, puts it in. That will do it for the second period here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Shots on goal in the second period favored Philadelphia 16-13. In the game, the Flyers have outshot Hartford 33-20. Coming up next in our intermission, the heart and soul, many people think, of the Philadelphia Flyers, Bobby Clarke. The score after 2 periods of play: the Philadelphia Flyers 5, the Hartford Whalers 3. We'll return with our between period activities right after this.
Scoreboard in the second intermission here at the Spectrum. 7 goals in that second period. It is now the Flyers 5 and the Hartford Whalers 3. Bobby Clarke, have there been any questions that have not been asked of you in your long career?
I don't know. I can't think of too many that haven't been asked.
Well, that makes my job a little difficult tonight, but we're going to give it a shot. You said Hartford seems to be skating a little bit better tonight than they did last night.
Yeah, in fact, I think they're skating much better tonight. They're passing and stuff a lot better. Last night tonight they are. Last night in Hartford, they didn't play too well at all. And I don't think we played that well last night either, but we were the better of the two poor teams last night, I think.
Bob, you've certainly seen the Philadelphia Flyers been going up and down in your years with this team. Now they're on an upswing. 8 wins in a row. Do you think that that great play and that success at this point in the season, the halfway point, could be dangerous?
Well, I don't think it's ever dangerous to play good. Obviously, you wish going into the playoffs you'd have a streak like this going, or you hope to have a streak like this going, but we've been behind the Islanders most of the year, and we just got her going for a while here, and I think everybody's enjoying it. It's good for our confidence. We've had Barber out, and Flockhart out, and Marsh out, and Kerr out, and then we've continued to win, and now we lost Lindbergh, and we're still winning, so I think it's a good sign for our hockey club. At least we got some depth.
Last week you were the player of the week. You have certainly had a great few weeks in your favor. How are you feeling these days?
Well, I feel great. I don't think I'm playing any better this year than I have in the past few years. I think too many times points are used as an indicator of how a person is playing, and the way the game is played today, players pick up points just, a number of points every week. 10, 12, 15 points a week are picked up by some players, so I don't really think that you should use points as a necessary indicator of a hockey team or a hockey player. A player may only score 10 or 12 goals for a year, but could still be a pretty valuable member of your hockey club.
Bobby, what was the situation with, you have the C on your sweater tonight. Bill Barber was wearing it until he was injured, and now that Bill is back, you still have it. What happened there?
I don't know. McCammon made the change. It was just, I think we were on a bit of a roll, and he just didn't want to disrupt what was going on. Billy just come back after missing 5 or 6 weeks with a bad knee, and he just wanted to leave it that way. I don't know if it's going to be permanent, or we start going bad, maybe they'll go back, give it back to Billy.
Bobby, I read some comments that you had made about the Soviet series coming at this point in the season, and that the timing of these series can be detrimental to a hockey team. And now you're sitting here without your starting goaltender, Pelle Lindbergh, who injured his wrist or forearm in the final game of that series. What are your thoughts on that game now?
Well, certainly worse now than they were before the game. I just think that there has to be more taken into consideration than the pension fund for the National Hockey League Players Association when you play the Russians. I think there's a lot of outside things, and they've been kicked around quite a few times, some of the things I said, but certainly any team playing them is susceptible to a serious injury, and Lindbergh was probably our best player now. I mean, he won us some games on his own this time, and he was just playing outstanding, and they don't know. He could be out 2 weeks if his wrist is sprained, or if it's a bone that's broken in his wrist, he could be out the rest of the season, and that's a hell of a price to pay for one exhibition game.
On the other side of the coin, there are those people that would say perhaps the people that do benefit are the fans, and is that so terrible?
I think that the fans in Philadelphia loved it, and most of the players, like myself, I like to play against them. But when you start weighing things out, is it necessary for them to come over here in the middle of the year? We started on the road on the 23rd of December, and we had 2 practices up until now. We've been playing every second night, or 3 and 4 nights and stuff. We've had no practice for the last 2.5 weeks. And when we would have had 3 days off, we had to play the Russians. So I think that's one of the reasons why tonight we're not very doggone sharp. We've been fortunate. A couple of our guys have gotten some bounces right, and we're ahead, but we're not playing very well.
Well, now you're in a situation where you have been in recently, trying to fill in and cover up for injured players. Can the Philadelphia Flyers continue on this string with relative success without Pelle Lindbergh?
Yeah, our goaltending is not our problem. Ricky St. Croix is a heck of a good goaltender, and they brought up Froze from Maine, and he won last night in Hartford. So we're not concerned with our goaltending, but certainly we're not in a position where we're going to have too many more players injured.
How is Bob McCammon handling the success of the Flyers these days?
No different than when we were losing. He's still giving us hell all the time. I mean, he's constantly honest. He never lets up, and I think that's the way our hockey club with our people, you have to be. That we got a lot of guys that may take advantage of a situation if you don't keep on them all the time, and he keeps honest and honest and honest, and it's paid off.
You're on top of the Islanders now, and I certainly know that you would like to stay there. When I said that success could be a problem, I meant that overconfidence and things of that nature which you have seen overcome a team before.
Well, you don't get overconfident when you're in a division with the Islanders and the Rangers and Washington the way they're playing now, and I think that the Islanders have too good a hockey team and too many people with too much character to continue the way they've been playing. I think they're going to play a lot better the second half of the season, and for us to stay on top, we're going to have to play a lot better.
All right, Bobby, you have a 5-3 lead. Thanks for stopping by. We'd like you to have a special gift for joining us here on USA. USA would like you to have a pair of Levi's cords in any one of 15 handsome colors. Perhaps you would like orange and black, I'm not sure. Levi's cords, the pants famous for walking the perfect line between jeans and slacks. Only from Levi's Jeanswear. Bobby Clark, thanks very much. We'd like to take a look right now at the top American scorer in the National Hockey League. He comes to us from the Minnesota North Stars, and Neil Broughton is indeed racking up some impressive statistics so far this year. 20 goals, 27 assists for 47 points. When we return on USA, Gary Green will join me for a look at periods 1 and 2. Stay tuned. We're live at the Spectrum in Philadelphia.
After 2 periods of play at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, it's the Philadelphia Flyers 5 and the Hartford Whalers 3. Second period, plenty of action, 7 goals in that period, and 2 of the goals by Philadelphia coming in a shorthanded situation, and that's been the difference in the game thus far. You see Allison at 4:27 giving Philadelphia a lead, then 2 in a row by Sullivan to tie it, then the shorthanded goals by Howe and Barber. Lacroix came back, got another one for Hartford, but then the bad angle goal by Propp at 18:05 to give the Flyers that 5-3 lead. Shots on goal to this point in the game favor Philadelphia 33-20. Here we go at the third period. Bobby Clark, whom you met in our intermission, wins the draw, and Glenn Cochran clears it down the ice. Chris Kotsopoulos working it out on the wing to Stoughton. Stoughton to Francis. In on left wing to Sullivan. Back to Ron Francis with a shot wide. And Clark clears it off the boards and back into the Hartford zone. Mark Renault for the Whalers. Flipped it out on the wing, and here comes Francis, number 10. Ron Francis just flips it in behind the Flyer goal. Cochran cleared it. Now Lindsey Carson, number 18, on the wing, dropping it to Cochran again. Cochran to Howe. Howe fires it in. Back to the goal to pick it up is Hospodar. He works it out on the left wing side to Greg Adams, number 18. Here's Adams into the Philadelphia zone. Adams, who used to be with Philadelphia, tied up by McCrimmon. Puck comes into the corner to Miller. He dropped it back, but Lindsey Carson, number 18, intercepts. Carson moving in with Holmgren. Centered. Holmgren deflected it. Visor made the save and smothered the loose puck for a faceoff.
We have an update on the NHL scoreboard. Buffalo now leads Los Angeles by a score of 3-0. That game in the second period.
Faceoff coming up to the right of 30-year-old Mike Visor, originally with the Chicago Blackhawks. Now Hartford at the last second decide to make a line change. We'll have a face-off as you look up close at Pierre LaRouche. And now at the Philadelphia player Mark Taylor, who scored the game's first goal. He broke out of a 29-game scoring slump when he scored that goal. Here's Neufeld for Hartford, shooting it into the Flyers zone. Flyers dig in after it, but are unable to center it. Philadelphia now trying to clear it, get it to center, and here's Brian Propp, only one man back. Propp against Hospodar, and Hospodar used the poke check. Now Propp gets it again. Visor the save. Another shot by Propp. And again, Visor comes up big. Here's Renault. Around on the boards for Lacroix. He drops it back to Hospodar. Hospodar almost lost it. Now Lacroix shot it. Propp held it in. Behind the net to Holmgren. Holmgren centering one off Propp stick. And Hartford on the attack as Neufeld tried to lead pass to Lacroix. Broken up. Back comes Holmgren. His shot. He scores! Holmgren. As the goaltender Visor got a piece of it. He came out, cut down the angle, got a piece of the shot, but it got between his pads. And Paul does it all, says the sign at the Spectrum. Here's a look at the play.
Well, those change-up shots sometimes really fool the goaltenders, and that's exactly what this one did. As we see, you're expecting a blasting shot from Holmgren, but I don't think it was nearly as hard as Mike Visor was expecting. It got by him. Visor really fooled on that particular goal.
So Philadelphia now with a 3-goal lead at 6-3 for the Flyers. Ben Wilson shooting it to center ice. The puck goes down into the Hartford zone. Back to get it is Anderson, and as he touches the puck, icing called against Philadelphia. Coast-to-coast coverage of the NHL is only on USA. We'll be right back. That last scoring play for Philadelphia, Holmgren from Hoffmeyer, Holmgren's 12th of the year, 2:05 of the third period of the time. Philadelphia from the faceoff, Ben Wilson, number 3, working it to Dvorak, who is being forechecked by Ron Francis. Dvorak now working it to Bill Barber. Into the center ice area to Sittler, ahead to Sinisalo, number 23. Ilka Sinisalo. Back to Wilson with a hard shot. Visor, a stick save. Centered again. They score! Darryl Sittler left alone in the slot, and Visor didn't have a prayer.
Well, once again, this line proves that they are one big problem for the Hartford Whalers. Sittler, the wrong guy to have open there with possession of that puck. We see the shot originating from the point. Visor made the first save, but watch this. Barber right out in front. Gets off the original shot. The save was made, but the rebound comes right out to Sittler. Caught Visor going down and up and over.
Darryl Sittler's 27th goal of the year. And Sinisalo and Ben Wilson get assists. Puck shot into the Philadelphia zone. A jam up in the corner. Puck is held there, and we'll have a face-off now in the Flyers zone as we look at the bearded Warren Miller of Hartford.
At Madison Square Garden in New York, it is tied 3-3 between the New Jersey Devils and the Rangers. Earlier, they were tied 1-1.
Well, if you leave Darryl Sittler in the slot all alone and give him that much time, you can have 3 goaltenders in there and they can't handle it.
Well, he's got great wrists on him, and boy, when he gets the puck, he lets it go quick.
Glenn Cochran, number 29 for Philadelphia. Weirded on right wing to Gorence. Tom Gorence with a pass ahead now to Evans, who shot it in. Hospodar quickly tried to clear it. Gorence again knocking it down, tried to get it to Evans in behind the Hartford goal. Tromp on the boards. Held it in, but now the Whalers shoot it to center. Mark Howe giving it to Evans, number 25. And the Flyers, Paul Evans dumps it in. Hospodar on the boards against Tom Gorence, and it's held there. And a face-off coming up in the Hartford zone.
Dan, 2 other games underway as well. At Winnipeg in the first period, the Pittsburgh Penguins lead the Winnipeg Jets by a score of 1-0. Also in the first period, Chicago leading Minnesota 2-1. Minnesota won the first game of this home-and-home last night. That's in the first period.
Kelly Lindbergh, the injured Flyer goaltender, in the press box, a native of Sweden. They don't know, as Bobby Clark pointed out, whether he'll be out for a couple of weeks or maybe even longer, depending if there's a break in that wrist or arm. Here is Clark on the face-off, getting it in behind the Hartford goal, and Kotsopoulos quickly moves it to Neufeld. He drops it to Russ Anderson, number 7. Clark tied him up. Now here's Neufeld in across the line. He shoots, he scores! Oh, Neufeld really surprised St. Croix with that quick wrist shot. And that cuts the Flyer lead to 7-4.
Well, we talk about good, quick wrist action. That's not easy to say, Dan. But boy, Neufeld really let that one go right up in the top corner. We'll see it again from another angle here. But from way out, way up at the top of the slot there, he really beat St. Croix with a good, high, hard shot. Those are the tough ones for goaltenders, but you got to keep your eye on it.
Maybe we just told a story showing a close-up of Lindbergh and then the shot that went by St. Croix. The picture says 1,000 words, doesn't it?
Well, that it can, without doubt. Neufeld's 12th of the season. As we take a look here at Pierre LaRouche, the guy that we victimized on one of those shorthanded goals, the one by Howe, Philadelphia's 3rd goal. Larry Kish must be a little bit concerned at this point in time, especially with the schedule they have, Dan. Back-to-back games last night and tonight with Philadelphia, and then now this week, back-to-back games with the Montreal Canadiens. Tough schedule.
I'm very impressed with Larry Kish, the first-year coach of the Whalers, in my meetings with him.
Well, so am I. I've known him for a while. He's come up all the way from the bottom as a coach. He certainly knows all there is to know about coaching.
Hartford in possession as Ron Francis from center ice fires it in. Fans are really getting on the goaltender St. Croix now. And here's Brad McCrimmon. Up the middle to Bobby Clark. Clark flipping it in on right wing. Here's a centering pass from Allison to Carson. He couldn't handle it. Clark now got it in front of the net, but knocked away by Doug Sullivan. And it's at center where McCrimmon gives it to Clark. Here's Clark, always a hard worker for the Flyers, flipping it through. Lacroix knocked it down. And here's a loose puck. Tip into the center ice area. McCrimmon shooting it back in for Philadelphia. Allison, number 19, in after it for the Flyers. Pinned in against the boards by Renault. The puck comes loose, and Francis gives it to number 21, Blaine Stoughton. Stoughton across the line, but breaking it up was Wilson. Number 3, Ben Wilson, right back for the Flyers. His pass to Proff, and the save made by Visor. Here's Anderson for Hartford, around on the boards to number 11, Paul Lawless, seeing his first action of the night, a rookie, just up from junior hockey. Puck comes to the Philadelphia blue line. Now Wilson. Flipping it in. Anderson back to get it to Lawless. He's checked. Propp drops it back to Dvorak. Shooting right on, and Visor has stick save. And then it's cleared by the Whalers to center ice. Shot right back in by Philadelphia. Anderson back to get it. Anderson over to number 11, Lawless. Lawless ahead at center to Malinowski. In across the line, and the play goes offside at the Philadelphia blue line. With the score, the Flyers 7, Hartford 4. We'll pause right here. With Al Troutwig and Gary Green, Dan Kelly at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. 7-4, Philadelphia leading. Just over 14 minutes left in this game as now the puck goes up over the glass and into the crowd.
Somebody goes home with a good souvenir here. You know, the thing with Hartford right now, as Mark Johnson pointed out in the first intermission, is really kind of realizing their situation. 17 points behind Quebec right now for that final playoff spot. They've got to really key in on developing their players for the rest of this season, because I don't think they're going to get a playoff spot.
Here's Mark Howe, number 2 for Philadelphia. Howe carries in across the line, but Ilka Sinisalo was in ahead of the play, offside, over on left wing.
They're also playing hockey tonight in the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton. In the first period, the Detroit Red Wings lead the Oilers 1-0.
Face-off is going to be just outside the Hartford blue line. A couple of the youngsters in attendance at the Spectrum for this Flyer home game. Flyers have won 8 in a row. They're trying to stretch it to 9, and they lead 7-4. Sinisalo on the boards, being tied up by Sullivan, now shot in by Howe, and Visor leaves it in behind the net for Lacroix. Lacroix with a pass at center ice. Sullivan, number 26, to Neufeld, who scored that last goal. He's checked, and then as the trailer, Sullivan carried the puck in. The play is offside at the Philadelphia blue line.
Well, as we take a look at the Hartford bench, you know, I think Hartford's situation right now is like a lot of other clubs in the past years. I think perhaps that on their defense, they need some help. And when they have got Siltanen out of the lineup tonight, they really miss him.
Here comes Bill Barber in across the line. Broken up. Cleared to center ice. Cochran going back to pick it up. He drops it to Howe. Howe fired it into the center ice area, and Lacroix got away from Sittler. Now Lacroix again coming up with the puck. Sittler still after him. Gets help from Sinisalo, now to Darryl Sittler. Centering one. Loose puck in front of the net, and it's shot wide by Sinisalo. Here's Sittler. To Bill Barber. Saved by Visor on a quick shot by Barber. Boy, does he get it away in a hurry.
Great wrist, as we've mentioned earlier.
Back comes the young defenseman Lacroix, the former Quebec Nordique player. He's checked. Flyers Cochran now giving it to Sinisalo, number 23. Ilka Sinisalo to Barber. There's that quick shot again. Hit the side of the net. Centering pass. Comes to the point. A drive. Visor the save on Hoffmeyer. Here's Sinisalo. Sinisalo, the native of Finland, around on the boards to Sittler. He centered it. Kotsopoulos knocked it down, and Blaine Stoughton comes to center ice. To Francis. Back to Stoughton. His quick shot. St. Croix the save. Another shot. And Stoughton fired it wide. Here's Kotsopoulos holding it in. But Cochran starts back for Philadelphia. Cochran flips it into the Hartford zone. Renault back to get it. Cleared on the boards. Digging in is Taylor, forechecking for Philadelphia, and he forces a face-off in the Hartford zone. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching the NHL on the USA Network.
Tomorrow, Monday night NHL excitement continues with another great matchup as the Quebec Nordiques battle the New Jersey Devils. The Nordiques have a triple scoring threat in Marion, Anton, and Peter Stastny, while New Jersey will have to rely on strong goaltending if they're going to find a formula for success. Don't miss Quebec and New Jersey, Monday night NHL hockey, live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the official network of the National Hockey League, the USA Cable Network.
Mike Beiser, the man behind the mask in the Hartford goal crease. Face-off is near the Hartford goal. Mark Renault, number 25, coming up with the puck for Hartford. Renault with a lead pass on right wing to Stoughton. He couldn't get to it, and Hoffmeyer has it for the Flyers. Now to Taylor, number 15. He drops it to Brad McCrimmon, number 10. McCrimmon flipping it in. Going back is Kotsopoulos. He gives it to Doug Sullivan, number 22. Sullivan, who has scored a pair of goals, to Stoughton at center ice. Stoughton drops it to Kotsopoulos. Over onto the wing to Renault. Hartford trailing by 3 on the attack, led by Malinowski. He shoots one. St. Croix came out, made a pad save. And Mark Taylor, number 15, takes over. Taylor with a drop pass to McCrimmon. McCrimmon over to Hoffmeyer. He shot it to center. Whalers have it there as Anderson gives it to Lacroix. Cleared to the line. McCrimmon, the former Bruin, shoots it right back into the Hartford zone. Here's Lacroix. Drop pass to Anderson. His shot hit Adams. Now Adams cleared it in behind the net. Malinowski, the former New Jersey Devil, into the corner for Miller. Centered one. Broken up by Allison, who headmans it to Clark. In on the wing to Carson, number 18. Lindsey Carson into the corner. He's checked, and Miller for the Whalers to Greg Adams, who fires it down the ice. St. Croix behind the net. Dvorak, number 9, takes over for the Flyers. Just over 10 minutes to play. Philadelphia leading 7-4. Here's Clark. Moving in. Great centering pass, and Allison shot it wide. And another great play by Clark. Adams comes up with it. To Miller. Miller's long shot. Changed it on St. Croix again as he made the easy save. Now Clark cleared it. Knocked down by Sullivan. Here's Ben Wilson. To Clark. Back to Wilson. Wilson with a backhander. Beiser got a piece of it with his goal stick. Dropped. Flipped it behind the net, and Renault takes over. Renault shot it off the boards. Dvorak at center ice. Cleared it. Here's LaRouche. Getting it ahead to Sullivan. Sullivan was checked from behind by Taylor. And Taylor now clears to Paul Holmgren. Holmgren, number 17, lost it. Comes to the Hartford line. Stolen there by Propp. A shot. Great save by Beiser. And then he covered up very calmly on the rebound. We're live at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. We'll be right back after this.
Well, Propp ending up with a good scoring opportunity. Take a look at it here now. We see Propp getting off a very weak shot originally, but Beiser had a little bit of trouble with it, as he had on the first goal in this period, Philadelphia's 6th goal.
That shot by Propp right there, Gary, I think kicked off defenseman, and that's why he had the difficulty and just was able to get his skate on it. Puck into the Philadelphia zone. The Flyers are well in control. They're leading 7-4 as Taylor takes a pass in his skates. He was checked, and Anderson tried to set up Ron Prentice. Back comes Holmgren back checking. He cleared it to center ice. Here's Lacroix for Hartford. Lacroix tipping it off the boards. And Howe back for Philadelphia. Howe to Cochran. Now to Mark Howe. Here comes Howe to center ice. In across the line. Howe shooting, and he backhands it wide. Excellent end-to-end rush by Mark Howe. Here's Stoughton. Lead pass to Doug Sullivan, who tips it into the Philadelphia zone. And back is Howe again. This pass to Glenn Cochran. Cochran back to Howe. The pass out of his reach, but picked up by Sittler. He was checked by Michel Galarno. Now the loose puck comes to the Hartford line. Renault fired it out on the boards to Lawless, the rookie. Sittler checked him, and now Philadelphia with McCrimmon dropping it into a zone to number 24, Hoffmeyer. At center to Sittler. to Bill Barber. Barber's shot went off Kotsopoulos, and number 11, Lawless, has it for the Whalers. He clears it. Renault into the corner. Here's Philadelphia again. Sinicello centered one, but LaRouche was there to intercept. Here LaRouche into Lawless, the rookie, moving in, and he shot wide in the short side. Now another chance for Hartford. LaRouche to Lawless, and that drive deflected off McCrimmon and just went wide. Hoffmeyer beats Sittler. Sittler with a shot that deflects wide, and Hospodar winds it around onto the left wing side for Lacroix. Lacroix passing it ahead to Malinowski. And McCrimmon back to pick it up. McCrimmon to Gorin. Comes to center. Mark Howe, or at least Pierre Lacroix, taking over to Hospodar. Back to Lacroix. Now to Miller. Miller in across the line, and the play goes offside, and we're going to have a hooking penalty as well against that guy right there, Bob Hoffmeyer. He's saying, no, sir, it is not hooking. You believe that? I got a bridge all set.
Well, what he thinks doesn't really matter right now. Well, let's take a look at the reason why Mr. Hoffmeyer is sitting in that bench right now. I don't think there's too much doubt whatsoever that he tried to hook and was successful at it. With the wheeling Warren Miller there, kind of going through the air after the hook by Bob Hoffmeyer. Hoffmeyer, by the way, played a couple of years ago. You had indicated he was a Chicago product, but he went to West Germany to play, where he greatly improved his mobility. Keith Allen recognized that, and as a result signed him as a free agent.
So the Whalers, trailing by 3 with 7:07 to play, will have a chance on the power play. Hoffmeyer, a hooking penalty. Kotsopoulos now for the Whalers, flipping it ahead to Francis in across the line. He's checked, and Allison starts back for Philadelphia. Number 19, Ray Allison. He used to be with Hartford. Now checked, and Kotsopoulos gives it to Ron Francis. Lead pass to Sullivan. He flips it in. St. Croix to the side of the net, was going to clear it and then held onto it.
Your attention, please, Mr.
St. Croix, as we indicated earlier, hasn't played since late November, and he really looks a little rusty in his moves in there, Gary.
Well, there's a lot of time between November 28th, when he did play his last game. He's only played in 15 games thus far this season, so he's bound to be a little bit rusty, but I think if he wants to stay with this Philadelphia team, he's going to get an opportunity to prove how good he actually is in the upcoming few weeks.
And they think he is a good goaltender. They just were trying to give Pelle Lindbergh a baptism of fire, so to say.
You can't blame them for that. When a goaltender's hot, you got to stick with him.
Well, their thinking, too, is that if you play 60 games in a season, you're going to be ready for the playoffs if you're a goaltender, and that's why they were playing Lindbergh so much. Here are the Flyers trying to clear it. Roosh held it in. Into Sullivan on left wing. He centered one. Frank Bays knocks it down and cleared it out of there. And Hartford go back to pick it up. 1:12 left in Hoffmeyer's penalty as the Whalers come out of their own zone. LaRouche ahead on left wing to Francis. Ron Francis, the fine young center of the Whalers, centered it. Cleared away. Now Sullivan into the corner to Stelton. He centered it, and St. Croix stopped the pass out, gives it to Clark, and Clark is able to shoot it off the boards to center. Chris Kotsopoulos is the Whalers. Moving into Francis on right wing to Stelton, back to Francis. Back checking on the play by Howe. Now Clark took him out of the play, and Philadelphia shoot it to center. Lacroix fired it over on the boards, and Clark intercepts for Philadelphia. He gives it to Mark Howe. Howe and Clark are the penalty killers. Philadelphia has already scored a pair of shorthanded goals. Howe's shot goes wide. Lacroix for the Flyers, passing it over on the wing to Sullivan. Now to number 20, Malinowski. Just 10 seconds left in the Philadelphia penalty. Malinowski fires it behind the net. Comes to the point man, Lacroix, into Neufeld on the boards, into the corner now. Sullivan centering it. Cochran is there to clear it away. Hoffmeyer just out of the penalty box. Now gets the puck out of the zone, and it's picked up by Glenn Cochran. And Philadelphia on the attack. Cochran with a long, high, hard one that's off the glass. Here's another chance. Holmgren for the Flyers, centered. Prop couldn't tip it in at the edge of the crease. A Prop into the corner. Back in front. Here's a backhander by Taylor, and Beiser makes a sliding save and held on to it. Philadelphia with things seemingly right in their grasp right here.
Well, they work so well together as a team. We see Prop on that last play. Watch Prop. We get a chance to see it again. He's running excellent interference here so that Taylor has a chance to get off a good backhand shot, but real good, solid teamwork play here. Prop, again, running that interference, real key part of the play.
Philadelphia leading 7-4. They can tie a team record if they win tonight, which would mean 9 in a row. A record that they first established for their club back in that 35-game undefeated streak. Here they score! Flyers cash in again and make it 8-4.
Well, Prop put it right up and over top of Mike Beiser, but some great work here. His favorite position, Holmgren, right in front of the net. We'll take a look at it. Again, key in here on Holmgren. Watch where he's positioned. You think that's tough for a goaltender to see the puck when you got that great big guy standing in front of you? Prop knew that Beiser was going down, but again, Holmgren, what a key guy right in front of the net there. He's not in the crease. At least it didn't appear that he was anyway. He may have had one foot in right in the last second.
Well, I think he may have been pushed in anyway. Reminiscent of the old Flyer Gary Dornhofer with the way he used to interfere with that goaltender around the crease. 8-4 in favor now of Philadelphia, who are headed for their 9th straight win. Now Brian Prop dumping it in. Russ Anderson back to clear it. Knocked down, and coming up with the loose puck is Hartford, and they fire it into the center ice area. Shot in now by Adams, cleared back into the center ice area. Here's Hospodar. He flipped it in, and then a collision by Hospodar. And who was it that he ran into in front of the bench?
Well, it looked like big.
Almost went over the boards anyway. For our local affiliates, we'll pause now. You're watching the USA Cable Network.
At the end of this game, joining me in the studio will be our USA MVP. And with the Flyers leading in this game 8-4, many candidates come to mind. Brian Prop just scoring his 2nd goal of the game, a prime candidate. Mark Howe has played one heck of a game, scoring his 4th shorthanded goal of the year back in the 2nd period, one of 2 that Philadelphia was able to score on Hartford during 1 penalty. So at the end of the game, it will be the USA MVP. Philadelphia looks like they're on their way to 9 straight.
3 minutes, 50 seconds left in this game. That last scoring play, Prop from Dvorak and Holmgren. 15:35 the time. It gives Philadelphia an 8-4 lead, and the Flyers are going to win 9 in a row. Here's Settler to Bill Barber. Barber shoots one. Beiser makes the save and covered up on it. And we'll have a face-off in the Hartford zone.
Dan, we're watching a few games in the NHL. First of all, in the 2nd period, the Red Wings now lead Wayne Gretzky and company 2-0. That is in Edmonton. Elsewhere, in Chicago, the Minnesota North Stars and Chicago Blackhawks are tied at 2. And in the 3rd game that we're looking at, Buffalo leads Los Angeles 6-1. That is in the 2nd period.
That Los Angeles club really coming on tough times, Gary Green.
Well, I believe that's one win in the last 14 games that LA have had. They're an injury-riddled club, though.
Here's Philadelphia. They have injuries, but they keep rolling right along. Now Sullivan holding it and giving it to Ron Francis as the Whalers attack. St. Croix stops the long shot. And McCrimmon, number 10. Lead pass to Sittler going all the way down the ice. Mark Renault back to touch it. Icing called against Philadelphia. Now, when you think the Flyers in 79-80 went 35 games undefeated, right now they're about to win their, 9th in a row.
9th in a row. Bob McCammon's got to be pretty pleased with that record, but you know, this week is very important for the Flyers. They get a little opportunity to rest. They're home now. They've got 2 more games, one against Pittsburgh, one against Chicago this week. Chance to get a little bit healthy, perhaps.
Philadelphia leading 8-4 as Evans, number 25, got it to center. Prop dropping it back to Cochran, over to Howe. Howe shot at the center ice. Knocked down by Neufeld. Here's LaRouche. He gives it to Lacroix. Lacroix into the center ice area. Tips it in across the line. Broken up by Howe and shot to center. Hospodar. Now Evans giving it to Gorence. Ahead to Prop. Brian Prop moves in. His shot is just wide of the target. Now Evans knocking it down. LaRouche couldn't clear it. Here's a chance for Prop. A backhander. Another chance, and Visor stopped them both. Evans couldn't get the rebound, and Hartford. Neufeld coming up with it. He lost it. Here's a chance. Oh, and Prop hit the post. Centered to Prop again. A shot. Visor the save. Prop puts it over top of the net as he goes after the hat trick. Now Howe. Evans deflects it wide. Loose puck, and Visor covers up on it. And right now, Mike Visor is pretty much on his own.
Well, you know, I noticed earlier, just at the start of this barrage of Philadelphia, Mike Visor is hurt because he's had a lot of action tonight. I don't know whether he pulled something, but he is hurting. He went down on every single shot. Let's watch this replay here. We see that one going right off the post, but Visor, right now, he's still standing up, but I'll tell you, just before that, he was down, and you could tell he was hurting. He had great amount of difficulty getting up. Sometimes, as a coach, you really worry about those situations, whether hamstring, groins, ligaments, but Visor has had a tremendous amount of work. It's not the first shot that tires you out, Dan. It's those second, third, and fourth shots, and he's had them consistently all night long.
There you see Greg Millen, who's the backup goaltender tonight. By the way, Philadelphia have outshot Hartford 52-27. Visor may not be injured. He just may be weary.
Well, that could well be, because he has, as indicated, a difficult time tonight.
8-4, Philadelphia lead. 2 minutes left. Here's a quick shot from the faceoff. Now Clark a shot. Visor stopped that and has to cover up on it again.
Well, you know, I've got to be very critical here of Hartford's defense, especially a guy like Kotsopoulos here, because he's a big, strong, aggressive guy. I had said that earlier. Not doing too much tonight as far as clearing out that front of the net. He hasn't cleaned out one guy yet tonight. They've got to have that out of him. Otherwise, he's really just a figure out there. You don't need any ornaments on this team.
Here's Russ Anderson playing the puck off the boards to the Philadelphia line. Wilson back to get it over to Dvorak. He gives it to Clark, and Clark circles back. Clark passing it to Allison, and then the play is finally called on a delayed offside. Had the Flyers moved the puck immediately out of the zone, then the offside would have been waived.
Well, we see Bobby Clark out there once again. He's taking the face-off. Where this guy comes up with all the gasoline to put in his tank, I'm not sure, but there he is playing right till the very last dying minutes and giving it everything he's got, as he is so well known for.
You ever seen a harder working player game in, game out than number 16 of the Flyers?
No, sure haven't, and I don't know whether we will see one for a good number of years either.
Philadelphia get it into the Hartford zone, shot around on the boards, and Greg Adams comes up with it. Adams dropping it back to Kotsopoulos. Kotsopoulos flipping it out on left wing for Merlin Malinowski. In across the line to Greg Adams. Adams moving in. There's Clark back-checking with an 8-4 lead to break it up, and that's what we mean.
Well, just a tireless worker. And again, the fact that Bobby Clark has diabetes, as everyone so well knows, a real inspiration for everyone that does have that illness.
Here's Greg Adams now trying to center one. Comes to Lacroix at the point. Over on the wing, a shot right on, and St. Croix made a glove save from Mark Renault and held on to it. Down to 45 seconds left in this game.
Well, Hartford trying to get their one last, perhaps dying goal in tonight's hockey game. A wide-angle shot. St. Croix not having too much difficulty at stopping that whatsoever. With only 45 seconds left to go in the game, you shoot from every possible angle, but again, when you're down 4 goals, really all hope is lost at this point in time.
8-4, Philadelphia leading as the Flyers are going to win their 9th in a row. And Hartford is going to go through their 11th game in succession without a win. Here's Prop to Holmgren. At center ice to Taylor. Taylor, number 15, dropping it back to McCrimmon. His shot from the point went wide. And the rookie Lawless, number 11, knocked off balance but got it to Renault. Mark Renault flipping it to Galarno. He's checked, and here comes Prop to Holmgren. Now to Taylor. Backhander. Holmgren gets it behind the net. Holmgren trying to center. He's checked to number 14, Michel Galarno. Flips it to Stoughton at center ice. In across the line. There's a centering pass broken up at the defense with just 5 seconds to play. And Mark Taylor, number 15, has it. Long shot. Saved by Beiser. This one is over. And the Philadelphia Flyers completely dominate and tire that guy out. Mike Beiser, the Hartford goaltender. Shots on goal, 53-28 for Philadelphia. And in the third period, 20-8, the shots on goal favored the Flyers. So a one-sided victory for their 9th win in a row here by the Philadelphia Flyers on home ice this evening. The final score at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, Philadelphia 8, Hartford 4. Al Tropik returns with our USA MVP right after this.
Billie Holiday, one of the great jazz vocalists. Now you can have authentic recordings of Billie's 25 remarkable years in music in a collection of superb performances.
But God bless the child that's got his own in my solitude. I fell in love with you the first time I looked into them eyes. What a little moonlight can do.
Billie Holiday, Ain't Nobody's Business If I Do. 48 selections featuring the superstars of jazz, Goodman, Basie, Ellington. This collection cannot be purchased in any store. Choose a 4-record set or cassette package for only $24.95, plus shipping and handling. To order, phone toll-free, 1-800-345-8500.
Nobody's business if I do.
Visa and MasterCard accepted.
And coming up on Ovation immediately at 10:30 Eastern Time, we'll take you from the ultra-rich of cruise ships to third world poverty in the East Indies. Then you'll take a look at the changing face and the troubled future of Hong Kong. It's all ahead on Ovation, coming up at 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific, right here on the USA Cable Network. The final score here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Flyers 8 and the Hartford Whalers 4. And indeed, when a team comes out and gets 53 shots and scores 8 goals, and for the second night in a row defeats the Hartford Whalers, the Philadelphia Flyers win their 9th straight. Our USA MVP is Mark Howe. Mark, I thought Philadelphia tonight, in spite of the fact that Bobby Clark thinks you're not getting to practice enough, played a heck of a game.
Yeah, I think we played a pretty good game. I think we had a real good first period. Mike Beiser, who, it's when I used to play in Hartford, Mike Beiser used to keep us in a lot of games, and I think we could have blown him out in the first period, but Mike kept him in, and, we kept giving up the bad goal, which kept him back in the game in the second period, but we got a goal late in the period, I think, which kind of helped us out.
I'd like to get your thoughts on Hartford, a team that you know pretty well, in a few moments, but first I'd like to talk about the explosiveness of the Flyers on offense. It is really remarkable how the team seems to be skating and freewheeling, getting as much open ice as they want and getting as many shots as they want.
Yeah, I think, tonight, I think what helped us a lot is that Hartford's having a bad streak right now. I know when we played them about a month and a half ago, when they beat us in Hartford, they played a heck of a hockey game. And, from talking to a couple of guys last night after we beat them, a few guys were discouraged and stuff. And, I think they need to get a good little streak at home, and they need to get one win under their belt, I think, to get a little confidence. And I think what they're doing, they were trying to back-check 2 men. And, I don't think we've ever back-checked 2 men all year. I think we try and force the play in their end the whole game. And, what they were doing, they kept backing in, just letting us come in their end, and they were hoping for a break, but we always had a third man back, so, we played a pretty sound game, I think.
Now, at one point in the second period, you really did hurt them badly with those 2 shorthanded goals. We're going to go back now and take a look. In the second period, Mark Howe will score his 4th shorthanded goal of the year, and Mark, if you'd comment.
No, it was a great play here by Bobby Clark, and it just went inside the post. I pretty well had my mind up when Bobby gave me the puck what I was going to do, because I knew the goalie was going to have to come across. And I know Mike Beiser's pretty mobile goaltender, so it's from playing against him and playing with him before that I was hoping he'd be coming across, which he was.
What has led to your success in shorthanded situations?
I don't know. I think a lot of it is a guy like Bobby Clark. I know a couple of goals I got is because he forced the guy behind their net and forced him to cough the puck up, and I was just about 10, 15 feet behind him in the slot, and he just fed it to me. All I had to do was put my head down and shoot a couple of times, and But I think it's kind of rubbing off. We've got a lot of good skaters and a lot of good hockey players on the team. And, I think one of the things, it's like a guy like Wayne Gretzky or Mike Bossy. When we have a power play and they're out on the ice, we really have to watch them. It's in your head. And, I think a couple times tonight, Hartford, they, especially on our goal, they gambled at our blue line because we were shooting the puck out. And one guy dove and he got a piece of the puck, but, it left it for a 2-on-1 on us. And, you can't afford to make those mistakes when you got a couple good hockey players out there.
There has to be a tremendous amount of confidence right now in the Flyer locker room, and that confidence has to go from one player to the next, and that can really be awesome when you're trying to get through an 80-game season.
Yeah, I think, we've been having a lot of luck as of late. The only thing I think that's might be hurting us a little bit is we've had so many injuries all year, but I've never played on a team before that had so much depth. And there's a lot of players right now, they've been here all year, but they weren't supposed to be here because guys that have played here last year, good hockey players, they've been hurt pretty well the whole year. I think when we get everybody healthy, I think we're going to be that much better. And, we're missing some guys that are 200, 220 pounds, so we're missing a lot of good size out there. And, but, like I said, we got guys here playing now that, when you do get hurt, it's tough to get your job back. You really have to earn it.
You had a couple of very fine length of the ice rushes tonight. The shorthanded goal is indicative of your movement tonight. Your shot, one of the hardest in the league. Are you in that groove, that twilight zone of play where everything seems to be flowing for you, where you walk on the ice and just feel great like it's going to happen for you?
Oh, no, I feel like the puck's going to go in the net for me. I know the past 2 years, I know last year I had a lot of good chances of scoring. The puck just didn't go in the net. And this year, right from the first couple games, I'd take a shot, and they weren't that good a shot, and it seemed to hit the funny part of the goaltender, just trickle inside the post. And I think I've had 3 or 4 goals where the puck didn't even make it to the back of the net, but I got over the goal line. And, people make fun of it, but after the past couple of years I've had, as soon as they go over the goal line, I don't care how far they're in, just as long as they're in.
Rick St. Croix, the goaltender for this team, and is now in a very difficult situation, filling in for your #1 goaltender. Did he, you think, build up his confidence tonight, even though he got the win, in spite of the fact he gave up 4 goals?
I don't know. I think so. It's tough. I don't think he's played in about 2 months. I think maybe 1 game in 2 months. And I think, it was a good game for him to get under his belt. Now we got 3 good days of practice. And, it always helps to start off with the win. And, I think coming up, we got some tough games this month. And, we're going to need a hot goaltender. And he played the first 10, 12 games for us and did an outstanding job. So, I'm sure he can do it again.
Mark Howell, a fine game tonight. One of the reasons why the Philadelphia Flyers defeat the Hartford Whalers tonight by a score of 8-4. And for being our USA MVP, Mark, we'd like you to have this quartz analog watch by Timex. The MVP in watches. Timex believes that precision, timekeeping, and great design are not expensive, just rare. Timex, we make technology beautiful. And also, we'd like you to have this close-shaving Norelco Rototract razor. It shaves you close as a blade without the nicks and cuts. The Rototract razor, tough on your beard, not on your face. And it's by Norelco. Here you go. To the victor goes the spoils, and I'm really happy that finally we gave the razor to someone who does not have a beard. That's been our problem in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's one thing I hope I never have a problem with.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Our USA MVP. The final score at the Spectrum, the Philadelphia Flyers 8 and the Hartford Whalers 4. We'll wrap things up live on USA after these messages coast to coast. Celebrate 1983 with the USA Cable Network as we bring home more live primetime Major League sports than anyone. We'll fill your weeks with an action-packed lineup unparalleled anywhere. Score with national TV's only live hockey contests. USA's Monday Night NHL. For midweek kicks, head into fast and furious excitement on USA's Wednesday Night MISL. And every Thursday, reach for the stars as we bring you hot shots and big plays on Thursday night.